And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann Report for today, Tuesday, December 11th, 2012. I'm Doug Hagmann. I'm the host along with my son, Joe Hagmann, co-host. You're about to hear 3 hours of unbiased and uncensored news, analysis, and information you need to know in these perilous times. Ladies and gentlemen, we broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on the Internet at HomelandSecurityUS.com, and you can watch us as well as we simulcast in high-def video on the Christians United Broadcasting Network. We have an open line somewhere, and I just want to alert you to that.
Yeah, Troy from Christians United Broadcasting Network, who is producing our show and produces a RPM show, a bunch of other shows, I think left his microphone on, or left the thing on. He's at the computer usually all the time. Probably started the show, walked away real quick, right back.
So any type of background noise you hear is not coming from our studio.
It's coming from him, and I wish I could mute it.
Now that said, folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us, for your belief, your trust in us as we walk through this minefield of current events together. And I want to thank everyone who has provided for us financially, because we are a listener-supported broadcast. And again, we depend upon our listeners to keep us on the air, and we want to just thank everyone who's helped us stay on the air through your prayers, through your financial support, and for spreading the word about this program. But I want to caution people right now: if you are a person who is happy, living in the matrix, shall we say, cradled in the warm embrace of illusions, I would recommend that you turn off the program and enjoy your remaining days uninformed. But if you're like millions of people around the world, if you've recently awakened with the sense that something foreboding is unfolding on Earth, and then the show is for you. If you believe that a global event, which to my knowledge, so far, no one has been able to clearly explain, identify, or whatever is on the horizon, well, this show is for you. If you feel whatever is happening is both physical and spiritual, yet you cannot really you can't really figure out what's going on, what's stirring beneath the surface, the show is for you. And if you hunger to discern the meaning behind the raging turmoil that's recently enveloping nature, societies, and global politics, well, this show's for you. But folks, prepare yourself for the unexpected, including truly startling and often discomforting information that you haven't heard elsewhere. What has been hidden in plain sight, in our opinion, for more than 200 years is preparing to reveal itself to humanity. And you know what? The clock is ticking, and the hand is closer to midnight than most people can really fathom, understand, and comprehend. If something wicked this way comes, the occult desire of the ages is here. And I think once you understand the secret, what's going on, the events taking place behind the scenes, you will know what you've got to do to survive. And I think that kind of sums up our program, especially our program in general and for tonight. Now, Joe, you've got a great week, the show tonight planned. We have a lot of news to cover tonight. Tomorrow, the first hour, Lindsay Williams is going to join us. And then on Thursday, from 9 to midnight, Russ Dizdar and Steve Quayle. Folks, if you haven't heard Russ Dizdar and Steve, Let me tell you what, it's Russ Dizdar is a fantastic orator. He's an author. He's just a tremendous.
All right, what we're going to have to do until he gets back to his computer is call in on the phone, please, and I will do the same, and we will mute him. Sorry about this, folks. We do this. Oh, there we go.
All right, that's better.
I was trying to call him, and
we want to apologize.
There he goes. Thank you, Troy. All right.
So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a tremendous program, and I hope you caught the opening because, right now we are being fooled, we are being deceived, and we are about to see really 200 years, 2 centuries at least, of spiritual occultism, if you will, about to reveal itself. And as I said, something wicked this way comes. The occult desire of the ages is here; it's present. And like I said, if you're one of the millions of people around the world who was recently awakened with a sense of something foreboding is unfolding right now, you're tuned into the right show. And if you believe that a global event that really no one's been able to clearly explain is on the horizon, then this show, it's for you. And if you feel whatever's happening is both physical and spiritual, yet you cannot solve or you can't figure out what's really going on, what's stirring beneath the surface, then, of course, you're tuned into the right show. And you're tuned into the right show if you hunger to discern the meaning behind the raging turmoil that's really enveloping everything, nature, societies, global politics. But again, I want everyone to prepare yourself for the unexpected, including the truly startling and often discomforting information that you have not heard anywhere before. As I said, what's been hidden in plain sight for more than 2 centuries. Well, it's preparing to reveal itself to humanity. It's preparing to and we're prepared to reveal it as we can. Together, we're going to go through this minefield together, and the clock is ticking, and the hand is even closer to midnight than most people can even understand. And I want to also mention that Part 3 of the Benghazi series is published at HomelandSecurityUS.com, and it's also on the cover of CanadaFreePress.com. That's CanadaFreePress.com. I want to thank Judy, Brian, and Kiko for their work and for their publishing that particular series, because folks, look, Benghazi is a window that was opened for us, curtain that was raised so that we could see the inner workings of this new world order that we are being forced into.
Yeah. The media has continued to condition the public for chemical weapon attack or some other devastating attack in Syria.
But the fuse
or when,
World War III.
If or when this or something similar to this happens, they're going to blame Assad faster than they blamed Osama bin Laden on 9/11.
And
the elites, along with Obama, are implementing their Middle East makeover, as I call it, which could trigger.
That's a very good. That's very good.
Very possibly trigger World War III.
You know something, Joe, I want to take, and listeners, I want to take you back to something that I found extremely disconcerting. And I don't know how many people really know this. I mean, really, really know this. I want to take you back to 2001. Just really quick. On January 20th, 2001, Bush was sworn in. I mean, during his first inaugural address, as he faced the Washington Monument, he twice referred to an angel that rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. His reference, of course, is credited to the Virginia statesman John Page. Page wrote to Jefferson that after the Declaration of Independence was signed, that he wrote that we know the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm? And you know, it was interesting because 5 weeks after that inaugural address, it was on Wednesday, February 28th, 2001, there was a congressman by the name of Major Owens of New York. Now, he stood before the House of Representatives, and folks believe it or not, he prayed to the angel in the whirlwind. He asked the spiritual force to guide the future and the fate of the United States. And 33 weeks, isn't that an interesting number? 33 weeks after the inauguration, and 28 weeks after when Owens of New York stood and prayed to the angel in the whirlwind, 9/11 took place. 33 weeks after the inauguration, 9/11 took place. Now, that's interesting, okay? But when Bush was giving his second inaugural speech, he offered this cryptic commentary. And I wonder how many folks really recall this. He said, for half a century, America defended our own freedom by standing watch on distant borders. After the shipwreck of communism came years of relative quiet, years of repose, years of sabbatical, and then came a day of fire. And then during that speech, Bush added, he said, by our efforts, we have lit a fire as well, a fire in the minds of men. Now, he said, it warms those who feel its power. It burns those who fight its progress. And one day, this untamed fire of freedom will reach the darkest corner of our world. So in thinking about this and looking at this, the phrase, a fire in the minds of men, that's from Dostoevsky's 19th century book, The Possessed. In The Possessed, there's a novel set in pre-revolutionary Russia where civil resistance is seen, championed. Civil resistance was, they were attempting to ignite a revolution of such destructive power that society would be just completely and utterly destroyed. But the fact that the United States President Bush, would actually quote this phrase in an official speech of record was just astounding. And I thought it was astounding when I learned this. The Possessed is about violent government crackdown on dissent that sparks civil unrest and revolution marked by public violence. So, Joe, you know, we're going to talk about that tonight. I mean, Fire in the Minds of Men, that's also the title historian James Billington chose for his famous book on the history of revolutions. So, and by the way, that included the origins of the occult Freemasonry and its influence on the American Revolution. But Bush himself tied his inaugural crypticisms to the Masonic movement in the American Revolution, saying that when our founders declared a new order, see, folks, that phrase, new order of the ages, they were acting on an ancient hope that is meant to be fulfilled. I'm wondering, as I do research and investigation, I'm wondering if, in fact, George Bush wasn't secretly, covertly, subtly, almost, behind the scenes, kind of surreptitiously making note that, hey, a new world order is meant to be fulfilled.
I mean, I really believe both father and son knew exactly what they were talking about, knew exactly what they were doing. They were continuing and carrying out the agenda set before them by the globalists, by the elitists, the international banking cabal, the synagogue of Satan, whatever you want to call them. Otherwise, they would not have been sitting in that Oval Office.
Well, and there are many people, including Tom Horn, for one, that talks about both Bushes and about their being tied together in these secret societies and what have you. But the fact that and there's even more, from various esoteric points of view. people wonder whether in fact, people know that the presidents don't write their own speeches, but yet they read them, they study them, they write in the margins of the speech papers, they know the content. So what message was, in this case, was George Bush attempting to push it forward? And don't forget, okay, we're talking about the dawn, and we do this a lot. We talk about, hey, something doesn't feel right today, and you know it, folks. You look around, some things don't feel right. Well, where did it start? It didn't start with Obama, and certainly didn't start with George Bush. It happened long before that. In the New World Order speech of George H.W. Bush on September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the day before 9/11. Do you think that was an accident? I mean, really, coincidence? Perhaps. But then when you take a look at what George W. Bush said in his inaugural speech, and 33 weeks later, a number, 33, in mysticism, an important number, right? And you see that 33 weeks after his words about praying to the angel of the whirlwind, and then 9/11 happens. It just makes you wonder. At the very least, divine providence is at work here. Perhaps a spiritual darkness is as well. Perhaps they're warring. Perhaps, as Steve Quayle says, I mean, there's war in the heavens and on earth. But it's, look, Bush wasn't the first president to use language of the divine to cast himself as the defender of the faith, obviously. But it's, when I was studying some things about George W. Bush, and Joe and I were talking about this at length today, we were talking about, when we were going over things, Bush was a man that changed he changed after he was elected president. It seemed like he actually become a man on a mission. And somebody close to him said he believed he was chosen by God to initiate a prophetic master plan. And until the 2006 midterm elections, remember, the unseated Republican control of Congress, they basically stopped the momentum of his administration's changes to domestic and foreign policy. Well, Bush was really on a path toward an apocalyptic type vision led by inspiration from the angel in the whirlwind, which he talked about. Now, whether he fully understood the ramifications of his words and actions, look, I don't know. We don't know. Joe and I, we were talking about this. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is, he and others around him had acknowledged, prayed to, and even welcomed supernatural agents to guide and influence the future machine of national sovereignty in a way oddly familiar to end-times prophetic people. And it relates to Dostoevsky's novel, too. And I find that very interesting about that novel, about the quote there from The Possessed. It's about violent government crackdown on dissidents that sparks civil unrest and revolution marked by public violence. So, isn't that what we're seeing now to some extent? And is this what we're going to be seeing in the future? Did Bush follow his particular agenda? A particular agenda? A continuity of agenda? And is Obama doing the same? Folks, this and other news tonight.
I would definitely say yes. It is a continuity of agenda they are following.
But isn't that weird? I mean,
no, it
not
is
weird, but just kind of out of the matrix.
If you're somebody who is just coming to the realization that the federal government is criminal and has sold you down the river, literally, they have sold us, our people, our country, our resources, our nation, out to the highest bidder. They have taken over the power of issuing our money supply away from the Congress and the Federal Reserve, a private banking corporation with international interests, hold basically us at ransom or at gunpoint, basically, with the power to inflate or deflate the value of the money based on how they feel, if they want to or not. So when we are under that type of control, it is hard to imagine there not being a continuity of agenda. How could you manipulate the society to a certain degree and way where we are going without there being coordination? Well, there is no way. I mean, it's like arguing. I make the analogy. You just can't do it. It is impossible for this to be this much organization. This couldn't happen with all the organization and planning. Too many coincidences. Too many things are falling apart. Our privacy is gone. The Constitution is gone. Our money is about gone. Our freedom gone. And we are going to be entering a time where it is going to be very dangerous to be in the streets of America, if you're even able to be on the streets at all. You're looking at the possibility of an economic collapse, people starving all around you, maybe even you, us, people being killed for their food, people being taken to FEMA camps, people will say, FEMA camps. There's a legislation that's passed that's not a lie, it's not a conspiracy theory. They have these centers built already. They have them staffed already. Yeah. They have the bullets, Department of Homeland Security, EPA.
But it's difficult for people to
have all the legislation, like the NDAA, where they passed a law that says they can take you, indefinitely detain you, and disappear you, kill you, or put you in a jail for the rest of your life with nobody knowing, based on nothing but, it has nothing to do with evidence. It takes away all your due process.
Right.
So if somebody doesn't like you who's in a high position of authority to make that call, they can do that. If people don't like people who speak out against the president,
I understand.
They can do that.
Joe, hang on a second. Let me address something here that I'm seeing in the chat room, and I just want to remind everyone. Okay, we have a chat.
Do it in-house?
No, okay. I want to do this. I want to address everyone that's participating in the chat room. Okay, folks, look. We invite you to be a part of our chat room, and we invite you to participate with one another. We have very few things that we ask. We ask that you be nice. You don't spam in the chat room. We ask that you don't do things that would create discord and disharmony. If you have an idea, then certainly discuss it. If you have a disagreement, then go ahead and discuss it. But do it as a family. Don't keep putting the same things over and over and over again. And Joe, let me
especially when it applies to
other
people and issues that have nothing to do with the show or what we're talking about.
And let me just say this, okay? I do not, and I take it as a personal attack. When somebody comes into our house, our chat room is our house. The people that are in our house are invited into our house. And I want you, every one of you in our chat room, to listen to this. We love having you here. But when somebody comes to our house and starts throwing knickknacks and throwing furniture and causing problems with other visitors, we don't appreciate that. And then
making it so others don't want to participate.
Right. And then you cause things. And then when you go off and make a YouTube video that is full of libelous, untruths, that just plain pisses me right off. Okay, now if that is offensive to you, I apologize. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to put up with it. Okay? Now, understand?
And I want to make something clear. We have a interactive chat room, and many people listen via the archive, so they are not aware of the chat room, people in it, what they say or what goes on. So and that's, the majority of our listenership. So for those listening via archive, this obviously doesn't concern you, but there's just, you see certain trends with people. We have the most wonderful chat room in the world, I would say.
We do.
We have, hundreds and hundreds of people every night.
That's right.
That no matter if they disagree on an issue, there's unity there. There is love there. It is a place of fellowship. And people come here to the chat room sometimes, I believe, just for fellowship, not even to listen to the show.
And
that's okay.
Originally when we started out with this program, and I have to tell you, I apologize. I guess I'm short on my meds today. Joe, I learn a lot from our listeners. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I want to let every listener know that I read every email I get from listeners. I can't respond to everyone, but I read them, and I have learned so much. And a lot of things wouldn't be brought up without you folks. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. All we have is just go ahead, Joe.
We're talking about
less
than
really?
A few people.
All right.
A few people that come in, that cause strife, that cause arguments, and like to spin it in a way of, well, I'm asking questions, or it's not wrong to question this or that, but it's not a matter of asking questions. It's a matter of the way you do it.
It's about being polite. It's about having character and dignity. What's happened? See, this is another thing too, and I was thinking about this today as you and I were preparing for the show. We were talking about all of these things. What's happened to the dignity of Americans? You look at that Black Friday stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, where is the dignity of those people?
There is pride and ego at play. This is one of the biggest downfalls of man. And it affects people in a way that, especially when people are gathered together like high school. Look at high school. You have the little cliques.
But then again, you bring them on form fully about. But you're talking about adults when you see that go on.
What's happened with the manipulation of our society? Most people still act like high school children.
Right.
I'm not referring to the people in our audience or chat room. I'm talking about in general in America.
Very true.
People have the mentality of a 10th grader.
Yeah,
and even though even if they're book smart to where they have PhDs, still some of them act like they're in grade school. It's just the way it is, and it is a character flaw. It is something that is worked on through prayer, through first of all recognition of the problem, prayer. We all have to be humble and ask for humility. If we don't have that humility, that's one of the main things. I mean, you can see a person when they say first impressions are everything. When you meet a person within the first 15 minutes of talking with them, you know if they're some kind of egomaniac. You might not know if they're humble or how humble they are, but you'll know if they're humble versus an egomaniac.
Yeah. I understand that. But with all of the things that are taking place today, especially in America, and especially as we look at the black clouds forming on the horizon and the things that are about to happen, what we need to do is make sure that our own dignity is there, it's present. We're treating others, and this is the big thing too. As you mentioned, Joe, the chat feature is about fellowship, and this program is about fellowship, and we offer our home to everyone. Everyone's invited. The only thing we ask you, that you don't do is don't throw furniture. Don't break our knickknacks, even though they might seem tacky. Okay, we like our pink swans in the front yard. No, we don't. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So to the one person I'm speaking to, when you come into the chat room and then you post things about other people that are just it's just done for a single purpose for the agenda. Please don't do that. You can make your point, but don't do it that way.
Chris in Texas says it right. It's a major distraction, and it is a major distraction.
Right. As this whole conversation is a major distraction.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this to the individual, and you know who I'm talking about. You know, and I'm going to talk directly to you just for a second here, okay? You created a video that is filled with untruths, that is filled with libel statements, slanderous statements, I should say.
Things are also taken out of context.
Taken out of context. You're wrong. I would ask you to reevaluate. You can keep it up. Keep the video up. Go ahead. Okay. And if that's how you really feel, that's fine. But reevaluate what you are saying. Think back and look at the facts. Look at how they were said, what was said, exactly what was said. Okay. And reevaluate from there. But certainly you're entitled to your own opinion. Just please don't come into our house and start throwing things, because that's when we will ask you to leave. And if you don't leave, then we'll kick you out. And if we kick you out, we're not going to invite you back in. That's just the way it is. So with that, I want to say thank you for the people that have patiently listened to my rant and apologized for me going in a direction I had no intention of going in before the show.
I want to do this. Somebody asked if we're taking calls. We will take calls in an hour, halfway through the show, starting at 9:30 Eastern Time.
Yes.
We got a lot of news to get to. And we started a new platform, really, a new way of doing things where we don't take calls till the last hour.
And we think that
it works better when we have a lot of news.
The continuity of agenda, or the continuity of the program, seems to be a little bit easier to understand.
Okay, let me go through a couple of headlines here. But first, tomorrow, Pastor Lindsey Williams will be joining us.
Yes.
Followed Thursday by Steve Quayle and Russ Dizdar. Both shows are updated on Blog Talk Radio, and we will have articles on our website, Northeast Intelligence Network, by morning.
Yes, we will, and we'll have listen live here buttons. That way, you can, you don't have to hunt for them if that's the case. And Lindsey Williams is folks. You've heard Lindsey Williams on Alex+Jones. We're going to try to get right to the meat of the matter with him.
Yeah, Lindsey Williams is on a lot of shows. He was actually on Jason's show on Friday.
Oh, good. Okay, all right. So the word's getting out there. I'm interested in what he's got to say about things. Yeah. About what the bottom line is right now with where the country's going financially. And see, the part three, by the way, the part three on the Benghazi situation, folks, if you don't have time to read it, that's fine. It's posted on HomelandSecurityUS.com and CanadaFreePress.com. But if you don't have time to read it, the real important aspect of this, there's two things. And I know most of our audience knows this. Saudi Arabia is behind. Saudi Arabia, the Muslim Brotherhood, is behind what Obama is doing in the Obama-Clinton agenda. But even the more important thing is this. The blowback against the United States for what we've been doing in Libya and our Arab Spring is going to be an attack on our economy, on the U.S. dollar. I shouldn't say our economy, an attack on the U.S. dollar. That's what the blowback is going to be. This is what you've got to really prepare for, ladies and gentlemen, an attack on the U.S. dollar. How is that going to happen? It's not going to happen through the fiscal cliff. That's all just ear candy, bread and circus stuff. It's important, but it's not the core issue. The core issue is, as our money is tied loosely or only to the free flow of oil, what is going to happen is Russia, and don't forget, Russia, they're still stinging from what we did to them during the Cold War, and of course collapsing the ruble. So what's going to happen here is Russia, Iran, they are going to attack to go against the free flow of oil, disrupt that. Gas is going to just double in price because of the disruption to crude, and also, we export crude and import refined product. This is part of what Obama is doing. Obama is killing the refinery process in the United States. So we have to actually send out the crude product. Meanwhile, Obama is shutting down the refinery processes here in the United States. Why is he doing it? Well, because that's part of the, shall I say, the socialist plan. So it actually doubles the exposure, the potential for attacks or terrorism or disruption, whatever you want to call it, whether it's a real attack or a false flag attack. But dollar being tied to the oil right now, that's going to be where the attack is going to occur. perhaps how it's going to occur, the timeline. Look, we don't know this, but certainly it's, I would say, within 6 months to a year. And when gas gets to be $9-10 a gallon for diesel, how many truck drivers are going to be able to drive their products to grocery stores? What's going to happen to grocery stores at that time? The shelves are going to be empty. That's so important because, see, I don't want any, and I was thinking about this today as I was walking my dog, and thank you, by the way, King's doing a lot better with medicine. His hips are better. He's got arthritis. He's like 7 years old, but German Shepherd, but you know how German Shepherds are. But anyway, I was walking in this morning, and we were talking, okay, because I talked to him, and he kind of listens, and he looks at me like I'm a little nuts, but the last thing I want to see is for families to go hungry, or families to have to rely on FEMA. Wouldn't that be like the worst of the worst? And families to be alone in times of crisis, people to be alone at times of crisis. We don't want anyone to be alone, and that just really tugs at my heartstrings. And if you're listening to this and you're alone, you're not alone because you're a part of our extended family. But we've got to start making plans right now so we can hit this head on and survive, until the next, to survive through this. And that's important. We have to work together to survive so we can come back stronger, and with God's blessings. That's what we've got to do. So I just see a lot of people going hungry, or given the ultimatum, here, you turn in your gun, we'll give you a meal ticket for a bunch of MREs, or you turn in a neighbor who's got a stockpile of food because, hey, they're being selfish, then we'll give you a meal ticket. And betrayal, folks, betrayal is going to be the word of the day. That's going to be the process. You think the Civil War, brother against brother, son against father, that was bad? I have a feeling, and Joe and I were talking about this earlier, I have a feeling, we both do, that the betrayal will run rampant. A neighbor will turn in a neighbor saying, hey, Joe Smith over there, he's got a whole pantry full of food that he's hoarding while people are starving. And they'll send the SWAT team out to get the food. The preppers, they'll go get the preppers. I believe this to be the case. I believe that the ultimate goal here is starvation. And I believe that the ultimate objective is to take away our weapons. And I think that they're going to do this in multiple levels. It's an asymmetrical war that we're fighting. And they're fighting. They're going to take away our ammunition. They're going to tax it. They're going to tax guns. They're going to take through the United Nations. They're going to take away our ability to own guns. It's going to go through the registration process and then the collection process. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be hungry. You turn them in for food. And those who are, and this is going to be kind of a long-term process. And I think that we're going to have to adapt. Those who want to survive and not depend on the government, we're going to have to adapt. But this, with today's headlines, I believe, and I think, Joe, as we discussed earlier, I think that you've got the same belief where this is where we're headed in this case.
Yeah. I labeled the show tonight, The End of All Privacy, Complete. And this was a headline because of a few different stories about new Department of Homeland Security and Verizon and city, local, state governments implementing new types of surveillance technology. But we're going to start tonight, with this HSBC. Now, do you guys remember hearing about them getting in trouble for the drug money, laundering drug money from drug cartels?
Yeah, I'm listening to this because my contact was talking about this today.
Said to pay nearly $1.9 billion settlement over money laundering. Federal, state, and this is from the New York Times, federal state authorities plan to announce a record $1.9 million settlement with HSBC Bank on Tuesday, a major victory in the government's board crackdown on money laundering in the banks.
Now, this is, Joe,
And we had a guy on.
Nothing.
I can't remember the guy's name from, he was a former worker at HSNBC. He left because of he left because of the corruption that was inside there.
Yes.
I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah.
I think he wrote a book afterwards.
That was back in the summer. That it was
in August or
right, late summer.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
So HSBC is settling because of accusations that the British banking giant transferred billions of dollars on behalf of sanctioned nations like Iran and enabled Mexican drug cartels to launder money through American financial systems. According to officials briefed on the matter, the deal, which will force the bank to forfeit more than $1.2 billion in ill-gotten gains and pay additional penalties, is the largest to emerge from an investigation that has spanned several years and involved multiple government agencies. The settlement on Tuesday is expected to include a deal with the Manhattan District Attorney Office and a deferred prosecution agreement with the Justice Department, according to officials. The Treasury Department is also expected to be part of the party.
So how much was the fine again?
$1.9 billion.
Okay.
They're looking at a settlement with $1.9 billion.
Do you know that was
they smuggled over, they laundered over $500 billion.
Right. And just based on, according to the individual I spoke with today and other sources, this would be much like you go in and rob a bank, for example, and you get away with, I don't know, we'll say $250,000, and you get away with that money, and you go home and you bury it in your backyard. Okay.
Yeah, you don't get to pay a fine later on the money you stole.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the authorities, the police, they catch you, the FBI catches you, and they never fine $250,000, but they fine you at the hearing. They fine you $10,000. Okay, that's pretty much like what we're seeing here. And yet they're saying, "Oh, this is huge. This is good business.
Oh, you launder $500 billion, you pay what? 2% of that, 4% back in fines, but you get to launder the rest of the money without problems. I'm going to tell you something, and this is an important story because this is happening more and more and more and more. Yet, folks, and try this because we tried this. I got to tell you, What did we try?
Well, okay. You and I, when we went to, just so you know, folks, and you, ladies and gentlemen, you might be in the same position. You might have a business. We own a business called Hagmann Investigative Services, Incorporated. So it's a subchapter S corporation. Okay, now, simply put, our business essentially was taken out because we dealt with Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, and when we became popular, and we did a lot of background checks for their board members. So when we became popular, they said, "Well, you know what? You're really too controversial for us. We're going to have to go with a lower profile company." So we lost essentially all of our business. The business remaining is just cleanup work that we had contracted to do, but we're down to nothing. Okay, and that's by choice for doing this program. But here's the funny part. So when we went into the bank, we said, look, we have the Hagmann report, which is actually a legitimate subsidiary of our investigative services, because we had a corporate meeting and we had a resolution drafted up through our attorney where the Hagmann report is a subsidiary of Hagmann Investigative Services. And it was notarized, signed, stamped, sealed, it's all there. So we took it to the bank because we received 2 donations. In fact, I remember this. There were 2 checks that we got with notes, really great notes saying, thank you for being, here's some money to offset your expenses. Okay, so we go to the bank, not wanting to break any laws, to be violating the laws by attempting to deposit these checks into an account that's mismarked or not intended. So we explained to the bank manager what we were trying to do, and we showed him, okay, here's the resolution. It's with the name change, and here's what we want to do. We want to deposit these 2 checks. Here's our license, business license. Here's our tax ID number. Gave them everything, and they looked, and it would be funny if it wasn't so sad. They said, well, look, because of the Patriot Act, you really can't do that. You've got to open up a new account under that new name because you could be laundering money.
Yes.
Okay, and the checks.
That's why we need.
The 2 checks didn't even amount to. I mean, the 2 checks were. I had more cash in my pocket. I mean, it was just a token amount. And I said, wait a minute. If we wanted to do that, I mean, if we wanted to launder money, it wouldn't be for $50 or whatever it was. So, but I said no. You not only do you have to have a new account, you've got to basically give your fingerprint, your thumbprint, your everything but a DNA sample, and there were some other things in there too. Oh, you had to keep so much per in the account, or they would actually charge us like $5 a month to keep an account open, or $10 a month to keep an account open.
I actually closed an account because of that.
So look at the banks.
I mean, imagine I had like $300 in some savings account.
Yeah.
Didn't look at it for I don't know how long, 6 months or whatever, and I look at it again, and there's like $50 gone, and I'm like, where'd my money go? Oh, there's a fee unless you have a minimum of $500 in here. Yeah,
but see, and this is and I got to tell you this. I just got the book by Eustace Mullins, The Secrets of the Federal Reserve. This is a book that was published, my goodness, originally published back, I don't know, 1991, maybe earlier than that. Goes into the Federal Reserve and the banks, the charters involved in the Federal Reserve, and how it's all set up. Ladies and gentlemen, we obviously, as listeners, we're being ripped off, but
yeah, we went through the history of the New World Order and the Federal Reserve, but we need to do a show with a guest and more information on there because the Federal Reserve's future is uncertain, in my opinion. To me, if we really had to make an assessment right now, it looks like they are on their way out. What are they doing? The dollar has been devalued 98+% since it's been started.
Yeah,
they have 99 charter.
Right.
Their charter's up the end of this year. Unlimited printing of money this year.
Right.
It looks like they're going out with a bang. If you ask me.
Well,
it's going to be soon.
So what's going to? And folks, I would ask you this: what do you think is going to replace the dollar? Would it be? I've heard some discussion, and I'll throw this out there, that before any type of global collapse and a global currency takes place, that they would bring in the Amero. I don't know, have you heard that? It's something that because obviously, ultimately, we're going to be traded. We're going to be put into trade zones, global trade zones, and that would make sense, like having an Amero. At least as a stepping stone.
Yeah. We've heard that before. A couple things here. Got some audio I want to play. This is Obama's job czar, Jeffrey M.L.
America's changing. China's changing. The growth rate has gone from double digits to right around 8%. It may be being stabilized now as we speak. What does that mean for China, and what does it mean for the United States? And should it change expectations?
Look, I think it's good for China, actually. To a certain extent, Charlie, 11 or 12% is unsustainable. You end up getting too much stimulus, or you get a misallocation of resources. They're much better off working on more of a consumer-based economy, less dependent on exports, driving technology and innovation harder. Really, the one thing that actually works, state-run communism may not be your cup of tea, but their government works, and they get things done. They have 5-year plans. I always tell our team, read the 12th 5-year plan, which is the segment we're in. Typically, what they're doing makes sense in the Chinese context. That's what they're doing now. The new president comes in, Mr. Xi comes in. He's got an agenda, and they're driving environment.
I'm shutting that off. Obama jobs czar says communism works, and we should use it as a system here in the United States.
Oh, my goodness. Communism has
How has this guy
worked.
not been arrested and thrown out of the country already or put on trial for treason? Imagine saying that. I mean, I wasn't alive back during the Cold War. I remember watching TV shows from the early 90s, Seinfeld, for an example, when Kramer was a Santa Claus at a department store, and they called him like even the kids were like, "You commie." They just how much they obviously hated communists and knew what they brought, knew what the destruction that they were to offer, and now it's a completely different world because I don't see that outrage anymore, except from people on the Republican right side of the Republicans. And usually it is to call out the communism tactics of Obama, well, it was to get their candidate in. Now they're continuing to call them out for whatever reason. It's not to inform the people or create a solution, but it's like they're okay with it. The country's okay with it. We saw a poll this week that 53% of the people asked were okay with communism. They liked it. Well, I wonder if they like the part where they are murdered.
Well, yeah, 135.
Let's ask them after.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
135 million people have been killed during the 20th century because of communism. And I just want to mention this as well, and people have heard me talk about this, but if you have a chance, folks, definitely research Antonio Gramsci. Okay, that's Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci. Gramsci is a communist, and he has opined about how communism could replace capitalism. And this is exactly what Jeffrey Immelt is saying. Instead of going with the pure Marx model of communism, Gramsci analyzed that Marx, would never be successful in a religious-based Western-style country like the United States. Instead, he said that in a country like America, it would be first necessary to undermine the culture and morality, okay, which is being done before the people would accept it. Yeah, it has been done, essentially. It's complete. Before we would accept the slide into socialism, which is then a stepping stone into communism. So what Immelt is doing is following the model, the Gramsci theory, or the Gramsci model, there's also, too, a theory, Marxist concept, that overthrow of America would come from a revolt of the workers. Now,
did you see the European? I heard the European Union's new logo was a hammer and sickle. Did you hear that?
I've heard a lot of things about that.
I couldn't even tell you when or where, but that popped into my mind, which is the communism symbol.
Well, but we have to look at the 45 45 communist goals that were listed in the 1958.
63.
Well, they were contained in a book by Skousen back in 1958, and they were read into the congressional record in 1963. So
some people say that that's not even true either. But
it's very true. I mean, Representative Herlong. I mean, it's in the congressional record. If you go back to the archives from 1963, it's there. But one thing that's funny is it's expunged on a couple of .com congressional. There are a few .com congressional sites where you can go to search archives. Okay, but those that particular aspects expunged, as is a lot of the material related to the Venona cables and the McCarthy era data that would prove McCarthy right that communism infiltrated the State Department. So, and even at the archive level in Washington, D.C., as pointed out by M. Stanton Evans in his book Blacklisted by History, during the 90s, some of this material was taken out of the National Archives. And you've got to wonder if this happened in the 1990s, over something that was going on in the 1950s. Who did this? And immediately comes to mind the guy, what's his name, that stuck the stuff in his underwear and socks and stuff, walking out of the National Archives.
I don't know.
Oh, goodness, somebody can help me on the chat. But good. Well, senior moment here, but
we have some breaking news.
Yeah. What's
a couple things. One, North Korea launches rocket in defiance of critics. A long-range rocket passed over Okinawa, 12-12-12. Also, Obama recognized the Syrian opposition group. Rebels pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda group that killed U.S. troops. I don't know if you saw this. It's on the front of Judge right now, but people have...
You caught me during a sip of coffee. Rebels, what?
Okay, first, Obama recognizes Syrian opposition group, probably as government, formally recognizes as a newly formed leading coalition of Syrian rebels who are fighting to topple Syrians and battle President Assad.
Okay.
So now that he has jumped on board with the rebels. Also, the rebels pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda group that killed U.S. troops. Petition demands Obama stop supporting terrorists in Syria. A new petition posted on We the People section of the WhiteHouse.gov website demands that the Obama administration cease all funding support for the terrorist and extremist rebels in Syria, as news emerges from 29 different Syrian rebel groups pledging allegiance to the Al-Qaeda-affiliated Nusra Front, a group responsible for killing U.S. troops in Iraq and one that is currently the primary fighting force in the NATO-backed bid to topple President Bashir al-Assad.
Wow.
Hillary Clinton admitted Al-Qaeda is supporting the Syrian rebels. And also, Obama, the administration, backed them up with $200 million in aid.
Wow. I want to thank Lucy, by the way, for sending this story about the North Korean missile firing. Lucy, thank you very much. You see how we can work together in getting the word out. How great is that? I just
wonder where that missile's headed and where it's going to land. Is it a test run, like where we're told not to launch the long-range missile? They're going to launch it somewhere in the ocean to see how far they could go.
I heard that. Yeah, I have heard, Joe, that the North Koreans, especially the North Koreans, are going to be doing some things just to test the waters, knowing that they can get away with it, that we are otherwise preoccupied elsewhere.
Yeah.
That not to really, now this according to one source, keep your eye on it, but don't be too overly concerned about it. Okay. Now, because it's kind of like the bad kid when the parents are away. We'll do stuff that they shouldn't do ordinarily, and we have like an absentee kind of government with respect to national security or security across the world, where we show weakness, and that's kind of what's going on with North Korea. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be watching it. That just means that put it in perspective.
Okay. I want to play this clip. It's a minute before we go to break, because on the other side we're going to get into this plus much more. Obamacare just raised your health care premium by $63. Also, Al-Qaeda is in Syria. This is an article out of the New York Times. Some of the privacy and surveillance things we're going to get into. City governments installing audio surveillance systems on public buses. Verizon.
Yeah, Marianne sent that earlier today. Thank you.
Verizon files patent for a cable box that watches you as you watch television. That's an article, but also in the article it doesn't say that they already have these boxes that watch you and listen to you while you watch television. Also, the new DHS molecular scanner sees everything, and more. But we're going to go to this audio here. The surveillance state TV that watches and listens to you.
Well, I think surveillance is getting out of hand these days. Well, brace yourself for this. Verizon has filed a patent for a cable box equipped with a microphone and sensors to record what you're doing. That's right. The television would be watching you, watching it. The idea would be that Verizon could target advertisements to what you're doing while you're watching TV. So if you're watching with a pet, it can show you commercials for pet products. If you're fighting with your spouse, it can lead you to the ideal marriage counselor. And that's not all. This technology would be able to communicate with your phone to see what you've been browsing on your mobile device. Now, this obviously doesn't sit well with privacy advocates. Here's Verizon's response.
In a statement, Verizon tells NBC4 the company has a well-established track record of respecting its customers' privacy and protecting their personal information, adding, while we do not comment on pending patent applications, such futuristic patent filings by innovators are routine.
So at this point, it's just an idea, but is this a sign that tracking consumers and the ability to spy is getting out of hand? Well, it seems like a scary sign of what's to come.
A scary sign indeed, as the police state grows even bigger and more intrusive. Pretty soon you're going to have mandatory audio equipment in your houses. You're going to have surveillance cameras in your houses to make sure you're doing what the government sets forth for you to do, their new laws, especially if you're in their New World Order system. But folks, we're up against the top of the hour break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this December 11th, 2012. No, Tuesday.
Yeah, December 11th. Good. I was thinking 12/12, Jeff.
That's tomorrow. Weird day, by the way.
12/12. 12/12/12. 12/12/12. Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies at work right there in your neighborhood: KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seat. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And that's the well-known Lori Roth was singing. It's kind enough to give us the authorization to use that. That's actually
She made it just for us, yeah.
Oh but that song that was playing in the background, she recorded that when she was in Nashville, I believe.
Oh.
Anyway, folks, welcome back to hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We are glad that you are joining us, and we thank you so much for being part of our lives. And we hope that we can return the favor by living up to your time investment of 3 hours with us every night. What Joe was mentioning before, right before the break, about
I played the clip. It's called "The Surveillance State TV That Watches and Listens to You."
And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I've gotten a couple of emails, not more than a couple, quite a few, about when you're on the internet. And have you noticed this, ladies and gentlemen, let's say you are doing your Christmas shopping, as many people are right now online, and you type in you want to buy a new bread maker, all right? Or if you're a guy, black bread maker. No, I'm just kidding. If you're a guy, sometimes I know I've done this where you'll type in like a specific make and model of a gun, just to see what they're selling for and to see who has what and what the stock supplies are and whatever. But when you visit a site, and even Canada Free Press has this, or our site has this, we accept Google advertising. And what that means, it's just a way just to try to offset some of the expense of running a website. It's just advertising. I mean, there's nothing nefarious about it. But what happens is, have you noticed when you go to different websites, you'll see that what you were searching for maybe 3 or 4 pages ago or 3 or 4 hours ago, all of a sudden, all the ads will be about bread makers or guns. Whatever you were searching for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And see these okay.
See, I should have uploaded the Verizon. I didn't want to upload two basically the same audio.
Right. But what they're doing here is they're creating this, or they're watching you. And this is what these cookies are all about.
You told me I remember when you told me about this with dog food.
Yes.
Something to do with King, our dog, was having some kind of problem, and you were looking up something about what's wrong with the dog when this happens.
Right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden you started getting things for dog food.
And I thought, and this is back quite a while ago, I'm thinking, wait a minute, how do they know? I mean, is it coincidence that all of a sudden now I'm seeing, all of these ads for? Well, no, it's not, because the
do they know I need to lose a few pounds? I like you getting Planet Fitness ads.
Yeah. Well, and look, I understand that you could look at this and say, well, this could be very nefarious and this could be very, it could be invasive. And to an extent it is, because they are watching your surfing habits, what you're looking for, and attempting to market the ads. Now,
there's big money in this.
Well, right, because I'm able to see both sides of this, because what I can sign on to, for example, Google AdSense, which is the company that's used, where you get like 5 cents for every 10,000 clicks that somebody clicks on the ad. But so what happens is you create these channels where people can advertise, and you say, okay, well, those people who allow cookies, they can tailor the ads to what they're looking for. But when I look through, when I did my research on this and investigated it, as far as I could tell, and I did check this out pretty heavily and spent a lot of time looking at this to make sure that no site visitor their information was being used for any other purpose. It's an automated program where it's very limited to specific search terms. So I guess what I'm saying in that regard, when you see that happen, don't be alarmed. Now, on the other side of things, when they are taking so just to be clear, I just want to be clear, the ads that you see that are dedicated to like what you were searching for 5 minutes ago or whatever, don't worry about that. What you have to worry about is what Joe was mentioning before about the potential for surveillance, not just tracking your surfing habits, but surveillance of what you are doing. There's two separate and distinctly different things.
With the laptop. With the laptops with the webcam on them,
yes,
we practice the policy of wiring tape.
Electrical tape. And I would recommend that if you have a camera hooked to if you have something that you hook into your USB port, like a webcam, if you're not using it, disconnect it. Oftentimes you've seen too on some, maybe if you watch television like Burn Notice or something like that, you'll see where people can get tracked by their cell phones. Take the battery out if you're concerned about it.
Know when your cell phone
and take the
is with you that you can be listened to, even if the cell phone's off. They track your texts, your emails on your computer. They can get your location. Anything that they need, pretty much. If they want real-time information on you, they can.
Right.
It's a two-way transponder. It doesn't work just one way.
And when you do type emails, I just want to just alert everyone to this. And I did receive confirmation about about this. Every email that you type, regardless if it's from a web-based email account or regardless of no matter where it's from, every email you type, think of it as a postcard where people are looking at what you're typing. And for some people to say, well, I don't have anything to hide, so it really doesn't bother me. That's really not the issue. The issue is that people are looking. The government is looking at your email.
We don't put tape on our cameras on our laptops because we have something to hide. We put them there because we don't want people to be watching us without our knowledge. We don't want our privacy to be invaded, and that's exactly where we're going. Verizon files patent for cable box that watches you as you watch television.
Now that's a scary thought because you've got. I mean, how many times do you really want to?
I mean, think about that. The CIA betrayed us.
Your ratty pajamas on sitting on the couch or watching television. Or watching whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
you don't want to be.
Petraeus, as head of the CIA, said even your dishwasher spies on you. They have lights that transmit information.
And of course, that is the
smart meters.
Right, that's the basis for the smart meters, and you have to understand that. And yes, there are patents out there for the transmission of data through fluorescent fixtures, through the lights. That sounds like wow, really out there stuff. But and here's the problem: if it was used correctly, it would really be a positive thing. But it's not. It's being used as a tool to spy on you. It's being used as a tool to conduct surveillance on you. And being in the surveillance industry and having 30 years roughly in the surveillance industry, I understand the value behind these things. And to an extent, Joe does as well. And even too, and this is one thing that we were, and folks, just so you know this, okay, when Joe and I were doing surveillance, there's equipment out there, and just understand this. This is low-tech stuff. But imagine a van or a car, we'll say a van pulling kind of parked on your street, okay, and pointing a device at your picture window. Now think about this. At your picture window, where you don't necessarily see what's going on, but this is what we'll say we're doing this. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Well, we've got this like a parabolic dish pointed at your living room window. Well, what could we hear from that? Or what could we distinguish? Why would we do that? Well, when you talk inside your house, it creates vibrations. That vibration is picked up by the glass. And we could actually, or in theory, if someone wanted to, kind of, sort of, could listen to the conversation inside your house without even stepping foot on your property. That's kind of frightening, isn't it? I mean, that's a frightening thought. Is that legal? Of course it's not legal. No. But do people do it? Of course they do.
But they have new surveillance cameras that use your eyes for pre-crime detection, suspicious measures. They have, that's San Francisco to get pre-crime surveillance cameras. There's Behavior Analytics, BRS Labs.
We've gone through courses that look
164 feet away. They have scanners that will know everything about you if you have a certain fiber material.
Exactly. Yes.
Gunpowder residue, anything.
It's not a bad look. Look, behavioral crime detection is not really a bad thing, because when you're interviewing, we'll say, a murder suspect, you could tell by their pupil dilation and by certain tics, facial tics, which are microscopic. I mean,
it's not a bad thing if it was like a lie detector test.
Well, or if it's used,
or like a ballistics test, or you know what I mean, a procedure. It's not. You can't just openly go to every single person and say, you know, we're going to interrogate you, or it can't be this invasive. It has to be on a basis that there is a probable cause.
Right. Yes.
A warrant issued, evidence obtained, and a warrant issued.
Well,
or at least enough probable cause to where the police do normal.
If you're being interviewed as a murder suspect, for example.
Right. Well, there's cause for that.
Right, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're not. Technology is being used as a double-edged sword.
This is on street corners and police cars.
Right.
I mean, this is not about you being a possible murder suspect. This is about you being a possible terror suspect, useless eater in this New World Order system.
Yes.
So it encompasses everyone and everything.
And that's the problem that we're running into, because you've got these and see, it goes back to the morality and the spirituality of our country. When you have men that lack the morals, lack the spiritual, lack the God principle, you know, to discard that, and use this for their own personal gain or for the control of the populace, then that's when you have problems. Our Constitution was set up for godly men and women, and it doesn't work otherwise. And that's the problem. So, but you're right, Joe. I mean, you know, we've taken courses. I mean, behavioral science courses where you could tell by micro expressions, as they're called, if a person's lying. I mean, and this is especially helpful if you have a spouse who you believe is cheating on you, and you could sit across from the table, watch various facial tics, micro expressions, the annihilation of pupils upon saying a statement, making a statement, an assertive statement, or an excuse or whatever. But that aside, this is being used for.
We have naked body scanners and travel ports across the United States. Portable naked body scanners in certain cities in police cars to detect handguns up to 10, 20 feet away.
Well, no,
we have.
In airport setting, for example.
No, I'm talking about on the street.
Okay, that's not right.
They have police cars that have these portable scanners that can detect weapons.
Right.
They have, like I said, the TSA over every mode of transportation. They have Border Patrol across the southern border, about 100 miles north of the southern border, not on the southern border, protecting where they should be, but checkpoints all throughout the United States.
And they have you realize the 100-mile radius, right?
Oh, yeah.
Miles.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have drones that they use. Not only the government, but the EPA has drones. The DHS has drones. Now journalists want drones. Everybody, 30,000 plus drones will be in the sky.
They are in the sky in every county in this country.
All the tracking and monitoring of all your political activities, your associations, the way you vote, who you contribute to. Now through Obamacare, the government through the IRS is going to have all your financial and health information.
Yes.
And this is a consolidation of information. You have closed circuit TV cameras or surveillance cameras on every street light in every city pretty much. There is no privacy. But yet you videotape a cop on the street, well, you'll face life in prison, obviously, because you're violating their privacy, even though they're in public and have no right to privacy. Here, this example, Big Brother's listening. Government officials installing audio surveillance systems on public buses. The era of private conversations on city buses or even in San Francisco, iconic streetcars may be coming to an end. Government officials are quietly installing sophisticated audio surveillance systems on public buses across the country to eavesdrop on passengers, according to a document obtained by the Daily. Plans to implement technology underway in cities from San Francisco to Hartford to Eugene, Oregon to Columbus, Ohio. Linked to video cameras already in wide use, the microphones will offer a formidable new tool for security and law enforcement, with the new systems experts say transit officials can effectively send an invisible police officer to transcribe the individual conversations of every passenger riding on a bus.
Well,
and it gets worse and worse.
Is there a reasonable expectation of privacy on a bus? No.
There is, to the extent that there shouldn't be microphones listening to every conversation. I mean, hidden in the seats. I mean, you're talking about, if you look and watch movies, when they bug somebody to go, get somebody to confess, they're bugging the whole planet. They're bugging everything. Your equipment, your television equipment, your lights, your smart meters at your house, your toilets, everything, your phones.
Toilets?
Yeah. Well, they're controlling the level of flow.
Right.
But who knows who knows if they transmit data, how many times you flush your toilet, or who knows what if they...
That's actually, no, you're right. That's actually a concern.
It's terrible to even think about that they could even be watching you. Especially in public traffic.
And this, Joe, this is an extension of Agenda 21, and people don't realize that built into Agenda. And when we talk about Agenda 21, people say, "Oh, come on, you're being a little bit hypersensitive." But built into Agenda 21 is the control factor. What's the bottom line here? You want to get people into the cities, to herd them into the cities, treat them like cattle, like they are, and control every aspect of their lives. This is what Agenda 21 is. And the tools the things that you're referencing are the tools to do that, to accomplish those objectives. So this is important.
What privacy do we have left? Well, I guess now we have the right to be surveilled. We don't have the right.
It's not. No, we don't. I mean,
of privacy. We don't. I mean, it doesn't matter. And then take it a step further. How can this be used against you? We saw that.
Problem.
What was it? The FBI and the government want phone service companies to keep text logs of your text messages for up to 2 years for cases that might come up on you.
Look,
to go back and
they're going to keep them forever.
Right.
I mean, it's just
like the body scanners. Yes. They said, they're never kept. They're never stored.
It's crazy. It's all a lie. And
then boom, one courthouse, 30,000 plus images stored within a few months.
Yeah, and it's so the privacy. We are in this surveillance environment right now, and once again, having conducted surveillance, we understand the value behind the information collected.
We conducted surveillance on people who were suspected of committing insurance fraud. We never surveilled their families. We never surveilled their neighbors. We never put bugs in their houses. We never, you know what I mean?
And that's our story.
We never had drones.
No, of course not.
Absolutely unreal. Just like 1984, George Orwell, but worse. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, if you've seen the movie, the TV talks to you, tells you to do your exercises. That is where we're heading. Maybe, it's obviously not in the same setting as the movie, but it's the same idea. We are trapped in a complete surveillance control grid where regardless if the people listening and controlling things are going to do anything about it or not, they know everything you do, everything you say, and they have that information. And whenever it's time to use it, they will use it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'd like to touch a little bit more on Syria, though, at this point. And folks, I'm wondering how many people are concerned out there, actually really concerned about Syria breaking into a global war, or ultimately a World War III.
Two things before we go to Syria. One, there's a cover-up. Emails show BP lied to authorities on the Deepwater Horizon.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get into that.
We should let's do that whenever, but let's do that soon, because I think it's important that we have to get to the bottom of what happened with the Deepwater Horizon.
And folks, remember a few weeks ago to a month ago in Indiana, there were several natural gas explosions. One blew up a neighborhood pretty much. There has been another one. A major gas explosion in West Virginia has closed down part of I-77. And we're going to get into that.
I received from Sandy, thank you, Sandy, and an email about that. What's going on with all of these natural explosions. West Virginia gas line explodes, burns homes and roads.
Mm-hmm.
5 homes go, at least 5 anyway, have gone up in flames this afternoon. Badly burned intersection on Interstate 77 in West Virginia was closed after a natural gas line allegedly exploded. What do you think about these? Folks, what do you make of this?
About 8 months ago, there was gas explosions in the sewers downtown, to where the manhole covers blew so high in the air when they came back down, they left craters in the cement in the streets. I was just one weird thing here, but there's been hundreds of those cases around, that these big explosions that are blowing up neighborhoods and buildings, and what are they connected to? The sinkholes?
What are we witnessing here?
We are witnessing earth changes. We are witnessing a sign of things to come.
With respect to Interstate 77, according to people on the scene, they said that the heat, the fire, the flames, they spanned about a quarter of a mile, ran through a culvert under the interstate, and then actually cooked the roadway.
Yeah.
They said it looked like a tar pit.
Well, I know that through going through different tunnels, and that it's pressurized, and it, will shoot through, like I said, the sewer system whenever there's openings.
That's not a flash fire. This is a sustained. This is sustained because people are saying that it turned asphalt into cinder, and as you walked across it, your feet were hot. It was like walking on a volcano. This is about Interstate 77 in West Virginia. Now,
did you get that from the link I sent you?
No. In fact, Sandy had, and again, thank you very much, Sandy. Sandy had sent this to us in fact, this is part of Yahoo News, but the Transportation Secretary, Paul Maddox, said that contractors are working on the repairs. They hope to have the Interstate 77 open Wednesday night. But my question to you is, and think about this, ladies and gentlemen, guardrails melted, utility poles burned, an ordinarily reflective green interstate sign. You know those signs on the sign? It was burned down by white metal. What does this? Okay, you funny fire. Okay, I know.
Police said there was a slight risk of a secondary explosion. Also, like you said, 5 homes were burning, and firefighters were told to stay back. Flames from 50 to 75 feet were shooting in the air, according to a county official.
Well, this reports that federal and state investigators are trying to determine the cause. And one guy says, well, and I kind of laugh, I'm sorry, because I remember back in the 70s working for emergency management as an emergency first responder. It's before they call us first responders. They called us idiots that were running into the fire instead of out of it. But anyway, this one person said, it's one of those rare events that happen that we don't have any answers for. We don't know what caused it. But don't worry, we'll find out. But when you take a highway sign on the side of the road that melts into white metal and the road turns into cinder, what's going on here? Now, this is happening, as you said, Joe, across the country. And people did say it sounded like a Boeing 757 all the way through the road.
One guy says a turbine engine. He says that a nearby neighbor said the sound was like a turbine engine. Well, it's about a half mile from the scene.
Now, could we argue, folks, that our infrastructure is in such a sad state?
Yes, we could.
We could argue that, but what would cause? You're looking at? Are we not looking at kind of like a 9/11 World Trade Center Ground Zero scenario to the extent that we had molten metal there? What would cause this roadway just to turn from asphalt to cinder? How much heat does it take to do that? And for how long would the fire have to be burning?
I don't know.
And
maybe we should start the 12/11 movement.
12. That's interesting. And folks, we had mentioned this too. the more we get into the reasons behind things and we search for answers, we realize that numerology, it might not mean a hell of beans to us, but it means things to other people. It means things to those people who are involved in the occult. Numbers mean things. Numbers like 13 and 33 and 7 and 9, whatever. They mean things. So we can't discount numerology just because we don't believe in it. But if they do, they meaning the people that are causing events, well, we have to look at this from their perspective to get answers. So, yeah, maybe 12-11 movement. Who knows? And tomorrow being 12-12. So can you imagine at noon, 12 minutes after noon? So 12 minutes, or 12-12-12 at 12-12-12. Okay. Now, does that mean something? What does that mean?
That means that that's what time and day it is.
In the day of the year. I agree.
Okay.
At least us.
Harry Reid, fiscal cliff deal by Christmas, not going to happen.
So, okay, we are being conditioned with the words fiscal cliff.
Yes.
We're being conditioned.
It's obvious. At first, I didn't think about it. I just thought it was a term used to describe when you get close to the debt ceiling limit and deals aren't reached. You're getting close to the fiscal cliff. But every day,
right,
like chemical weapons in Syria,
right,
we see fiscal cliff.
Now, what are we, folks, and I'll throw this out to you folks,
I can tell you,
being prepared for?
We are being prepared for what is happening in Greece. They have more than 26% unemployment. The things what politicians call entitlements that people have paid into all their lives with their own money are on the chopping block. And this story here says it best. 75% of Obama's proposed tax hikes are going towards new spending, not the debt. New spending. So the president's tax increase funds also spending increase. It's not deficit reduction. Okay, they say there would be $1.6 trillion in tax hikes. 1.2 would go toward new spending. 1.2 trillion towards new spending.
Well, look, just
because you need a big government, and if you're going to waste all the country's wealth in such a short amount of time, the rest of it, you have to be creative in ways to waste it, right? And I guess you could just burn the money, but while helping other people by giving them a few dollars, thinking that they're doing them a big favor by giving them this money, when really they need to get rid of it anyway.
Well, and yeah, this is something that we touched on last night, but I won't go there because I know Joe's working on an article about this, but just look. We're all in this together. We're all Americans. We're all, or if we're not listening to this in America, because we are in 41 countries today. By the way, I want to say hello. I don't want to even mention his first name because he's listening in Colombia. Not Bobby. I mean, hey, Bobby.
How do you say hello in Colombia?
Well, Colombia, in Central America. But anyway. I just want to say hello to him. I know he's listening, but and we have people listening all over the world. So I mean, you're all part of our family, and regardless of whether it's the dollar or the loonie or the euro, we're all in this together. My question is this: the numbers show that our dollars, our fiat currency, all over the world is, obviously it's declining. We're being debased. How are we going to handle? We've got to be prepared to handle this devaluation and ultimate destruction of our monetary system. So what we need to do is we need to think about how we're going to survive this mess. One thing, and I talked to somebody earlier today, if you have dollars, whether they're dollars, euros, whatever, turn them into something tangible. But because by the time things start to happen, it's too late. So if you have extra dollars, you might want to buy some food with it. You might want to buy things that you're going to need to carry you through the crisis. Food being one. You can even invest in silver, gold. I mean, I'm not recommending this, but these are some ideas because you don't want to be left with a pocket full of lint. Or, if you've got $10 bills in your pocket, they're the amount of lint. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's good because you know what I'm doing for Christmas this year? I'm going to my pantry, wrapping up a bunch of my storable food, and I'm giving it away to all my family.
Actually, and folks, I'll tell you
Christmas
this.
shopping is over.
This is the first year, and we, as a family, we usually do not, we're not big on gifts and, giving gifts and such, but everyone is going to be getting some long-term food storage from us. That's the extent of our Christmas shopping.
No, seriously, we try. It's not a big deal. Every year we go through the same thing.
Yeah.
Dad, what do you want for Christmas? Nothing.
No.
What do you want for Christmas? Nothing.
No. But if you are the family that trades, that exchanges gifts, it's a good idea. It might be a good idea this year, especially this year. Hey, I don't know. Maybe your budget's $50 a person, or $25, or $100, whatever it is. Use that money and give them something that they could use in the event, or as crises unfold. Storable food, a water purifier, things that they may look at you like, well, huh? But they'll look at you as a hero in the end. I mean, when it hits the fan. Just some ideas, or you can certainly go to Victoria's Secrets or wherever you go and get your stuff. And whatever the women, wherever, that's to the guys, I mean, it's, I don't know, but it's really, you look at where we are right now. 28% of all Americans don't have a single penny saved for emergencies. That's a quarter of all Americans. 28% don't have a single penny saved for emergencies.
I got a little bit more than a penny, but not hardly anything. Less than $100.
Well, I'll tell you what, 40%. Now, this recent survey, 40% of all Americans. So we're going to say 4 out of 10. That's what it is. They have less than $500 in their savings accounts.
Yeah, really.
That's us. We're normal.
Nothing in a savings account. I have a little bit of silver, and when I say a little bit, a lot less than 100 ounces, and less than 50 ounces.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. I'm talking about
100 ounces.
Scraps, crumbs.
Right. I think between you and I, we might have, 30 coins probably, but
it's hard to get ahead.
Exactly. Certainly we're not going to buy our way out of the crisis. But here's the thing. It doesn't take. You have to start somewhere. So go ahead and start little by little by little by little. If you're like us, you know what? You just do what you can. My wife went to the grocery store today. She came back. She said, "You just wouldn't believe the price of food." And of course, I keep, I would believe it. But just as an example, she bought an extra couple of boxes of macaroni and cheese and two extra things of spaghetti sauce that were on sale because they were a closeout item. They were buy one get one free, and they were already marked down. So, but the storage life on them was 2014, right? So that gives us a year and a half, 2 years, and I'm sure you could use it if it's stored properly at least 6 months, 8 months to a year after that. Do these things starting with your next shopping trip, and you'll be surprised after a couple of weeks what you can actually accumulate in storage. And it might not be much, but will it get you through a day? Work for a day, and then work for 2 days, and work for 3, work for a month, or a week, then a month. But do it gradually. And we still have time. While we still have this time, do that. But in the meantime, median household income in America, it's fallen for 4 consecutive years. We've lost $1,000 a year in median income over the last 4 years. It's $4,000. Food banks today all over America, they're reporting that they're serving more needy families than ever before.
And they're short.
Yeah. And
meanwhile, the Red Cross,
we try to help our local food bank, by the way, and not to say that anything, but this is something that we try to do.
Meanwhile, the Red Cross is, paying their executives 6-7-figure salaries while, they can't get relief to Sandy victims. And the Haiti scams that were going on. People gave, billions of dollars through text messages that money never received or got to the place it was intended to go. All these people, these nonprofit organizations that are here to do good, only really legally have to give, 10% of what they receive towards the cause they're saying what they're collecting money for. And
yeah, I know.
It's called a nonprofit.
Yeah. And that's one thing too. We certainly as a company, and we've been approached, why don't you start a nonprofit? No, we don't want to do that, only because it's the strings attached to that, and that's off topic. But anyway, this month, by the way, if you look at the November unemployment numbers, this month, looking at last month's November unemployment numbers, the unemployment shot up very sharply in November, which is a bad sign. Yeah, from Sandy. What companies are doing, folks, and be prepared for this. If you are working at a company, just be prepared for this. A lot of the larger companies now are announcing major layoffs because, most large companies right now have announced the elimination of more than 100,000 jobs since November 6th. But what's taking place is they're adjusting for this Obamacare coming in. The small business owners, especially, they're replacing full-time workers with part-time workers, and this is something you have to look ahead at and be wary of. Okay, because this could affect you. Right now, as of yesterday, the federal government has run up a deficit of the fiscal year started 2 months ago. So far, we're almost $300 billion in debt in the first 2 months of fiscal 2013. So, by contrast, we're $57 billion higher than it was in the same period last year. So, I guess I'm trying to tell you, the government debt is soaring out of control, and the debt is going to be it's already unsustainable, but it's going to crush us. And don't forget, Detroit, the city that was once the home of the American automobile. Wow.
They're ready to be taken apart as a city.
Wow. It's look what's happened. I mean, I think people have to look what's happening in Detroit, and you can see the future of America. Our industry has been decimated, and we can't blame Obama. We can't blame any one person, but we can blame all of the elected leaders and ourselves as well for allowing this to happen. We've settled for lesser quality goods made by slave labor just to have the things that we want to have. We've refused to buy American because it's a little bit more money, and of course the the supply follows the demand. Look at where we're at right now. We've created this. Can we get it back? Can we walk this back? That's the question. Economically, the storm clouds that are forming right now over this country, the economic problems that are going to take us out, the military problems. Our military is being decimated by this administration, just like it was during the Carter years. Joe, you don't remember this, but during the Carter years, I mean, it was such that our military was just ripped apart. But the biggest thing I see is the lack of political will, the lack of people to stand up and say, this is wrong, we need to stop it. And that, of course, goes hand in hand with the spiritual aspect of things. The lack of morality, the lack of integrity, and the lack of godliness by the men and women that run this country. That's where we're at right now. So with that, I just wanted to bring that up.
All right. I want to play this audio here. NFL murder-suicide fuels gun control debate.
Big news.
This was something we talked about earlier in the week. A football player killed his girlfriend and then killed himself. And Bob Costas, I think it was, made a comment on Sunday Night Football saying we need to ban guns, and if there wasn't a gun involved, if they didn't have a gun, then none of this would have happened, and there would be no murders if there were no weapons. So here it is. NFL murder suicide fuels gun control debate. And listen to these people. Listen to the logic.
How we doing tonight, man?
December 1st, 3 a.m. After a night of hard drinking, Javon Belcher is seen on a Kansas City police dash cam video being questioned after cops get a 911 call of a suspicious person sleeping in a black Bentley. After learning Belcher plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, officers allow him to leave without citing him for DUI because they say he was not driving. Belcher thanks the officers and enters the building where Brittany Glass, the woman he reportedly spent the night with, lives. Eventually, he goes home. There, he is confronted by his longtime girlfriend, 22-year-old Cassandra Perkins. When their dispute escalates, Belcher, in a rage, shoots her repeatedly.
Stay with me. The ambulance is on the way. You hear me? You hear me?
Belcher's mother, Cheryl Shepard, frantically telling 911 operators that her son has shot the mother of his 3-year-old daughter. Before fleeing their home at about 8 a.m., he arrives in the parking lot of the Chiefs practice facility. There, after thanking his coach with police en route, Belcher commits suicide.
A makeshift memorial was erected at Javon Belcher's childhood home here in West Babylon, New York. His friends and family gather to grieve and reflect. Also, more news is released as details of the death come out that Belcher, after shooting his girlfriend, kissed her and then apologized.
News of the murder-suicide sent shockwaves through the sports world, hitting especially close to home for Geraldo and me. We both attended West Babylon High and played football for the Eagles. I spoke by phone to current principal, Dr. Elise Vasallo.
What is it like when you have a tragedy such as this, a violent crime occurring with one that you know and love?
I am shocked. The young man that I knew could not have done this. I don't know what caused it.
Javon killed Cassandra with one of 8 handguns he legally owned. The tragedy prompting a passionate argument over gun control by sports anchor Bob Costas.
But I was talking about a gun culture.
Javon Belcher's murder-suicide raised once again the right to bear arms. Many people asking for stricter gun laws, for gun advocates like Rick Friedman, who owns the RTSP range here in Randolph, New Jersey, disagrees. What do you think, Rick?
No, I totally disagree. I mean, Javon Belcher was an unfortunate incident, but it wasn't gun violence. It was domestic violence, and I think we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Gun enthusiasts like Rick Friedman complain their Second Amendment right to bear arms is unfairly challenged whenever there is a high-profile shooting. A conscientious instructor, Rick enjoys sharing the joys of sports shooting.
It's exhilarating. It is empowering. More importantly for women, that it's empowering because it's a great equalizer.
It does create an anxiety, just the power that you have with this weapon, the fact that it can take a life, it's pretty overwhelming.
I don't disagree, but we want people to turn that around and use it to protect a life.
Rick agreed to debate gun control advocate Ellie Mistral.
It was much harder to buy a gun in 1986 under Ronald Reagan than it is right now under President Obama. So I think that suggests that perhaps we've gone too far to one side. We need to bring it back a little more centrist.
And you look at the whole Bob Costas situation in Javon Belcher, it's about domestic violence. It's not about gun violence, okay? The one who needed a gun was his girlfriend. And that's the one who didn't have one when she needed it.
I think it's actually the opposite. I think the more people that are armed, the more likely there is to be an innocent person who kind of gets caught in the crossfire.
To regulate the type of gun that somebody owns, again, you're regulating an inanimate object. Regulate the people.
Regulate the people. Well, Javon Belcher had 8 guns. Why do so many NFL players have so many guns?
It's really a good question. You ask them and they'll say, with money comes fame. With fame comes jealousy. People are jealous of what you have, of who you are, and they'll do whatever they can to take what you have. So they feel that the gun is the great equalizer. That's how they're going to prevent themselves from becoming victims.
Guy's 6'5", 325 pounds. He's not going to get mugged on the street. But Craig, I appreciate it. Thanks for
stop a bullet. Yeah.
True.
And there you have it on Geraldo. and talking about
was that was Bob, or was that Geraldo?
It was Geraldo and someone else. They, were saying the debate is, if he didn't have a gun, he had 5 guns. What did he need all those guns for? Look what he did. And we can go back to the argument that the first murder was Cain killing Abel before there was even the word weapon.
Well, there's 2 issues. And the way I look at it here is, and I don't know how many other talk show hosts look at it this way. With me, there are 2 different issues. You've got the gun agenda, the anti-gun agenda, and then you've got the infiltration of the press, getting control of key positions in radio, television, and other areas of Hollywood. But in particular, once you put in progressives or socialists that are, or even the one world order kind of people who are attempting to take away our gun ownership rights, but also censor things. And you've got people like Bob Costas, and some people might say, well, he's well-meaning, and certainly, but you've got this agenda out there by these people who are placed in these positions who are attempting to change the public opinion and to get them against gun ownership. It's already been thoroughly documented and acknowledged that the mainstream media today has got a strong progressive socialist bias, and I don't think anyone on either side of the political spectrum argues that anymore. It's amazing, but what we've got basically is the representation, people in the media only representing the far left, communist, fascist, socialist side of things, and that's where we're at. So this is why you've got comments like Bob Costa, and even to an extent Geraldo Rivera, who is an employee of Fox News, who and Bill O'Reilly, even to if you want to go name names.
Yeah.
So it's not about the guns. It's not, but it's about the guns because they want to disarm us. And people erroneously believe that the Constitution is a living, breathing document. No, it's a document that has been etched in stone, and I believe divinely inspired. It's a divinely inspired foundational document for our country. So it is to be followed by moral and godly men. Without that, we don't have a country,
and we don't have moral and godly men in positions of power.
And speaking of that, Steve Quayle just sent me an email. Atheists post anti-Christmas billboard in Times Square featuring Jesus being crucified with "Drop the myth."
Repeat that, please.
Okay. In Times Square. And this, having been in Times Square, just passing through to go to Brooklyn and the Bronx and places like that to work, Joe, you and I have gone through this, but in Times Square, there is a billboard apparently put up by American atheists. On the top, there's a photograph of Santa Claus. Underneath the words, "Keep the Merry!" ! MERRY. And below that, a picture of Jesus on the cross, we'll say from the shoulders up. And underneath that photograph or that picture is "Dump the myth!" ! So what does that? Keep the merry and dump the myth.
That's what they consider it, a myth.
So the American Atheists, which is an activist, nonprofit organization, is back with yet another overtly offensive Christmas billboard. It's hard to even articulate this, but in 2010, the group posted a message in New Jersey calling the Christmas story a myth. The Catholic League, by the way, at the time erected a response. But in 2011, last year, the American Atheists followed up with another campaign featuring Jesus, Satan, and Santa. Now, this year in Times Square, which is absolutely sickening, is this billboard alleging that the story of Jesus is a fable. And this time, they're displaying in New York City's Times Square this photograph I described. On top, a happy, jolly Santa Claus, and then underneath that, a picture of Jesus on the cross, saying, keep the merry, for Santa, and drop the myth for Jesus. Happily signed, AmericanAtheist.org. Now, you just wonder, what kind of reaction would there be if we did that with Muhammad, or with Buddha, or with any other god? See, Christianity, folks, is under attack in this country and across the globe. Followers of Jesus are under attack, and this is what Steve was telling us during the one broadcast, when the followers of Jesus are, and he went so far as to say, it's not just Christians, but specifically followers of Jesus. You can't even utter the name Jesus in a religious setting anymore, or even in intellectual discourse anymore, without being mocked and ridiculed. We are typically, we're right now, we are being persecuted, and this is only going to get worse in America and elsewhere. And we know, folks, we know, as Christians, that the persecution is coming. And see, we cannot lose faith, and we know that if we keep our faith, then on the other side, we're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah. And with all the false doctrine, New Age religion, Lucius Trust, UN, going on, we have the Bible is a myth club, really, that is just hammering away at all internet forums, places to comment. Anytime there is a post on religion, you hear the prove it to me that there is, Jesus was alive. And what's funny is Jewish religion, Christian religion, and Muslim religion all agree Jesus was a real person.
Well, that's where it stops.
Right.
That's where the agreement stops.
I mean, Muslims even say he was a prophet.
Well,
but to say he was a myth and made up,
right.
that is a lie. You proved to me he was not, with all the historical evidence that he was. But you have this New Age religion, the people coming in saying, well, it's not about Jesus. There were many people like Jesus who came and did the same thing, and what it is about is a higher consciousness level that we need to reach, ascension, they call it. They think that those who are not mentally growing, that you're going to be left behind, while the people who are more conscious than other are going to ascend to another, planet or shooting star, hopefully a flyby asteroid. But no, these people really do everything in their power to take Jesus out of the equation. And someone in the chat room weeks ago or earlier this week said it 100% accurately. It's because they don't want the responsibility. It's because they don't want to have to do anything. People are more likely to believe that aliens are real than that Jesus is the Lord and Savior. They're more likely to believe that, look at this report on Judge here, Jedi religion, most popular alternative faith.
Is that where you're talking Klingon or?
I don't know. The new figures reveal that the lightsaber-wielding disciples are only behind Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Sikhism, Judaism, and Buddhism in the popularity stakes, excluding non-religious people and people who did not answer. Following a nationwide campaign, Jedi made it into the 2001 census with 390,000 people identifying themselves a decade ago as followers of fictional Star Wars creed.
Well, wait, I want to go back to this picture, and then but I got to say this, because I'm going to talk to the AA communications director. Hang on before you get into this, because you got to listen to this, because this is going to put your shorts in the wad here. Sorry. The American Atheists have come forward to comment about the billboard, explaining the organization's motivations for posting it. Listen to this. Teresa McBain. Teresa, I'm going to send you a letter tomorrow because I'm sure you won't take my call, but I'll try to give you a call. She serves as the communications director for American Atheists, said the following, and listen to this, folks. The holiday season is about family, friends, and love, and that its beauty has nothing to do with the gods of yesteryear. Even saying that gives me a chill up my spine.
Yeah.
Indeed, gets better. Indeed, the season is far more enjoyable without the religious baggage of guilt and judgmentalism. Yeah, dump the myth and have a happy holiday season. Ho, ho, ho. I had to put that in there in the comments. You know, this is, folks, Exhibit A, perhaps, of the destruction of the goals, the One World Order, New World Order goals that are being thrust upon this country, the agenda, and to take God out, to delegitimize God and any type of religion. It's terrible.
We're coming up.
Yeah,
we're going to a break.
This hour was brought to you by Nootropic. That's Nootropic at mindregard.com. Mindregard.com. Nootropic is a dietary supplement that increases your blood flow enhancement, cognitive enhancement. It's a great product. I use it. Of course, you can tell how sharp I am. No, seriously, I use it. You know, with all the genetically modified organisms, the food, we're not getting enough nutrition and nutrients. This is a supplement that increases the blood flow to your brain, that increases your mental acuity. Folks, I do recommend taking Nootropic at mindregard.com. That's mindregard.com. Click on the right side banner for mindregard.com. Visit their website. Tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you.
Folks, we'll be right back after this break. We're going to go to an audio from Peter Schiff. Majority doesn't have a right to steal my money. Then your phone call, 661-244-9839.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
As the battle is raging on in Washington, Peter Schiff of Euro-Pacific Capital is taking his argument against raising taxes on the wealthy to the streets. In today's Wall Street Journal, he writes the fantasy of a 91% top income tax rate, and Peter says taxing the wealthy simply will not work, and the attention should be on spending cuts.
Yeah, but Richard Brodsky of Demo says he's got it wrong. Both join us now to kind of hash it out here. And Richard, what about that? I mean, it's a fair question. So much focus on the revenue side of this argument, the tax increases or whatever is going to come out of that deal, but the discussion hasn't really gone to the spending side so much.
Look, Peter has a political loser in the sense that the president isn't going to agree to that, but he's also got a bad economic argument. We have run out of supply-side economics as a model for how to fix this economy. We need to put $1,000 in the hands of 100 families rather than $100,000 in the hands of one family. You got to stimulate demand by putting cash in the hands of people who are going to buy things. When we tax the rich, we do not really affect the demand side. Supply side is over. The president knows it. People in the United States know it. Peter hasn't figured it out yet.
Peter, do you care to rebuff?
Of course he does.
Well, first of all, it's supply that creates demand. Just printing money and giving it to the middle class so that they can spend it isn't going to create an economic growth. We need purchasing power. We need productivity. But raising taxes on the top 2%, look, they're already paying more than their fair share, and increasing taxes on that group isn't going to solve the problem. We do need to dramatically cut government spending, and if we fail to do that, then we're going to have to increase taxes dramatically on the middle class. You see, the fiscal cliff is just a small down payment on paying the piper. We have to pay for all this government. The big mistake was growing government.
Settled out in the election. And although there's a room for balance, I don't say Peter's wrong entirely. The fact of the matter is that the top 2% are not paying their fair share. The American people don't think so, and the numbers don't add up. If you want a deal here, you're going to have to raise the rates, and then if you want to talk about spending cuts, as I think the president will eventually do, you'll see a last-minute
agreement. First of all, I'm in the top 2%. Right now, I'm paying 45% of my total income in income taxes, both to the state of Connecticut and the federal government, and if you take the 3% Medicare tax. After the tax hike is going to affect next year, more than half of my total income is going to go to the government. Now, you tell me, what's fair about that? When medieval serfs paid 25%, I'm paying half. And I don't care, I don't care what the majority voted to do. They don't have a right to steal my money just because they vote for it.
I'll tell you what the problem is. We're in a crisis. We're in a crisis caused by the Bush policies, unfunded wars, tax cuts we couldn't afford, and we got to dig our way out. In the process of digging our way out, President is saying that the wealthiest are most able to contribute to that workout.
But it's not going to dig us out. It's not going to dig us out just raising the taxes on the wealthy.
It is not going to dig us out alone.
It's a very, very, very small and minor drop in the ocean in the grand scheme of things.
You know what the wealthy are going to do? They're going to invest more abroad. They're not going to work as hard. They're not going to pay as much in taxes. They're not going to employ as many people. Their employees aren't going to pay the taxes. Look,
they didn't do that when
Barack Obama got a
was
mandate to steal from the rich and give to people who voted for him. It's not going to work.
Rich people will not do that. They're going to do what's right.
Oh, yes, they will.
We can go back to the Clinton rates. We can go back to the Eisenhower rates, raise substantial revenues, and yes, I don't want to make it sound like spending cuts are not on the table.
We're going to have to break it up here. We're going to have to rise, Bob.
All right, enough of the arguing and chaos there. Peter Schiff is saying basically that democracy does not rule our country, as the majority won't and does not have the right to steal his money and our money and anybody's money to give it to somebody else. We're back with the Hagmann Report this third hour. Looking over at my father, he's sitting there without his headphones on, like he's ready to take off. Just wondering what he's doing.
I'm leaving the room. Now, this thing with the economics, with the dollar. Just be prepared, folks, for a devaluation, and we're trying to get a handle on this. And anyone who knows the answer, I don't think anyone does know the answer, but we can speculate. What we're trying to determine is if we're going to see this happen in virtually overnight or within hours, kind of like the Weimar Republic or Rhodesia, with the when it's you would get paid, twice a day, 3 times a day, because every time you go out to buy something, it would be more and more money. But the ultimate objective here is to implement this global system of currency. But will there be perhaps an Amero type currency to fill in the void for a while? Will this fall? What will the fall look like? And we've talked to Ann Barnhart, for example, who's got a very vast series on the economic situation. If you've watched that, it's about 2.5 hours long, separated in 8 parts. She has her theories. I mean, the facts are there, but when you get to the what's it going to look like, that's uncharted territory. It could look like something in Russia, and as I mentioned, I think on an earlier program, there was somebody who witnessed the fall of the ruble or the collapse of the ruble, and they would drive by or go by this van that was parked on the side of the road. And, the bottom line was somebody was sitting in this van, and they left this person dead in the van for days and weeks, and to the point where there's nothing left but the skeletal remains of a person. That's what Are we looking at that? Is that how it's going to play out? But we know that we're headed for the collapse of the dollar. We know that the dollar is being targeted by foreign interests. We know that, and Joe, you mentioned yesterday about the Chinese. Did you not? Buying up mortgages?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that spurred a call from a source of ours. It's like a building that's burning, and the owner of the building, and this goes back to the story of, I believe it was Crassus, back in 70 AD Rome, where he would watch a building burn, and as the owner came out, he would offer to buy the building from that person, and with each passing moment, the price was going down because the building was in flames. And then you had neighbors coming out and saying, "Hey, for crying out loud, to the building owner, sell the building for crying out loud. It's affecting my house. Soon the flames will be on my house." Well, isn't that not what we're seeing right now, where Crassus is actually watching the burning of the building and going to pay fire sale prices for what's left? And are not we seeing the neighbors putting pressure on the building owner to sell at fire sale prices? And then, of course, well, who is this guy that's buying the building? The people, the very person and the people who started the fire to begin with. This is an intentional, orchestrated assault on the value of our dollar. We have to identify the people. We have to identify who's behind this. It's an orchestrated global attack on our dollar, and perhaps the event that'll take it down is going to be the interruption of the oil supply. That's one way. The other way, of course, is just imploding with such debt that we can't. I mean, it's a house of cards. It is anyway. But the situation is so tenuous that we have to realize. And folks, don't think for a moment that just because you have money in a 401k, it's safe. It's not. We've learned our lessons from MF Global, where segregated customer accounts have been plundered, and certainly but when the dollar is devalued, we've already seen a 98% or 96 or 98% devaluation with the creation of the Federal Reserve. You're going to have a 401k with dust in it. I mean, that's where we're going to be. So take proactive measures now and preventative measures now. If I had a 401k, I don't. If I had any liquid investments, I don't. But if I did, I certainly would turn those into something tangible, whether it be silver, gold, food, brass in terms of bullets, something that, or just coins, where. Yes, and keep enough, of course, to take care of your bills from month to month. But I would be looking at it like that. That personally, this is high. But prepare for this, because I don't know how much time we've got, but all indications are we don't have that much time.
That's right.
So that's just my one person's opinion.
Folks, give us a call at 661-244-9839. We're going to go to the phone lines now. We want to thank all of you who have been patiently waiting. We're going to go in order here.
In the order in which they were received.
And looks like Dave in Long Island is first. Dave, we're coming to you now. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, Joe. Doug, how you doing?
Very well, sir.
Yeah,
very well. Can you hear us? All right.
Yes. Again, I want to apologize in all humbleness. Last time I was on the show, and I said something about Obama's mother, so again, I apologize in all humbleness. And the other thing, the other thing I want to apologize. I always look in the chat, and I didn't know you could scroll and go back. But I seen that when I said something about the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor, I said Japs, and somebody wrote in a reply about, he said Japs. The only reason I called them Japs is that I listened to so many World War II pitches back then, in the old days when I used to have them on. That's what they called them, and we're talking about Japs that killed our Navy sailors. We're talking about sadistic, evil things, and I'm not talking about the present-day Japanese that we now call our friends. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the ones that took our military lives. So I just want to make that point clear, and I'm sorry.
You know what, Dave? No, I mean that's to me that's not a problem. I mean, if I was of Japanese descent, somebody called me a Jap. Honestly, I don't personally. I wouldn't take offense to that. And I mean that sincerely. But thank you for your apology. That's fine.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to be a little nicer in my my whatever you want to say, my anger or whatever. I'm going to try to be a little more anger management.
Oh, your righteous indignation, Dave, which is, sometimes, look, I got to tell you, it's a good thing because, whatever your motivation is, it's channel it for the positive stuff. But go on. What's yanking your chain tonight?
Well, I just wanted to say real quick also. You talked when you first came on. You said I kind of feel I know who you're talking about when you said in the chat. I don't want to mention names either. I think I know exactly. If you want me to mention it, I will. But I don't.
No, let's not.
Okay.
No.
Well, I was a little disappointed a few times when I came on last, and there was two people that I don't see anymore in the chat. One, like I said, I'm all alone, and Nevitt out there. I'm with you, my brother. I'll pray for you. I know how you feel. I'm all alone too. And Colorado or what? I can't remember his name. He said something about they over there in the Muslim world, they can have their guns and everything and go crazy, but the United Nations or Obama doesn't want to take away their guns, just us. And we're not doing half the killing that these people over there do. The other thing, I was a little disappointed when I looked in the chat and I seen people, saying stuff again about my mother, Mary, and I'm sorry, I'm Catholic, and that's the way it is. And I've been following you, Doug, for a long time, before you were even on Lori Roth, when you were on some other guy's radio for a short time.
So that's who's been behind me in that black sedan. All right. No, I know. You make me feel better. All right.
But I just wanted to say this. I just wanted to say this to these people out there. Remember Jesus when he was on the cross? John was there and Mary. Now, look, Mary witnessed his death and crucifixion. 3 hours on the cross. Jesus was beaten. His body looked like blood everywhere. Could your mother stand to see that? Anybody in the chat room? I doubt if my mother would probably have died of a heart attack. It was
I know.
Right? But didn't Mary say?
Yeah.
Didn't Mary say and I'm talking to the chat room with the people in there, and people out there in Wonder World, didn't she say to the people on the cross, "Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother"? And that's specifically, that's why I say she's my mother. And that's why Catholics say the same thing. And I'm gonna still follow you guys, and I just hope that you respect my religion. There's better things to talk about than talk about another person's faith, whatever. And you say, I do pray to Mary. I do pray to Mary to intercede for me to Jesus. Now, people will say, well, why you pray to Mary? You're not supposed to do that. Well, didn't somebody just ask for prayer the other night? Didn't somebody just say, pray for my so-and-so? They were in the hospital. So then why did that person come on and say pray? Why does she need intercessory prayer from you people to pray to Jesus to heal or to help her husband or whoever was in the hospital? Why do anybody say, will you pray for my brother? Will you pray for my sister? She's in the hospital. We do the same thing. We ask for prayer from people, but we Catholics, we also ask the Mother of God, the Mother of Jesus, I'll say that, Mother of Jesus, to pray to her son. And that she's alive, she's in heaven. So we could also ask the people in heaven to pray for us. You could ask your parents if they're in heaven. You could ask the angels and saints to pray for you to the Lord. We can do that. And it's the same thing with talking about a statue. Don't you? Us people, we carry around photographs of our children. We have them on our car, maybe on our visor, or we have a picture of them and this and that, and you look at them and you stare and you feel like you're almost there with them by looking at the photograph. Well, we have a statue of Mary. Some statues don't look too nice. I know one statue I love. It's the statue of Our Lady of Medjugorje, and I look in her eyes and there's a big statue, and I feel this is what she looks like, and I just love that statue. I know that's a statue. I don't worship the statue. I just look at her, and she's a reflection of what I think she looks like. And it's the same way when we all look at photographs. We don't love that photograph, do we? We look at it. We love what it means. We you know what I mean? So that's just one of the.
You bring up, Dave, you bring up a good point. I personally have, I've got both a cross and a crucifix in my home, and some of the more purists would say, well, geez, you shouldn't have a crucifix. But to me, and here's how I look at it. And Dave, tell me if you think if you think the same way I do. And by the way, I've got a picture of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and of Mary as well. I'm not Catholic, but I have that, and that just simply reminds me of that family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. It's a reminder to me. I certainly don't worship the statues or the pictures or whatever, the crucifix. I don't worship that.
And
but
that's
a reminder to.
That's the thing that the atheists and everybody want out. The stable with Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. They just doesn't want Jesus out. They want Mary and Joseph out of there too. It's the whole three. It's a family. Jesus loved his mother and father. I mean, Joseph. What son wouldn't love his parents? How can people? I don't think people would be so naive to say that Jesus didn't love his mother and father. I mean, Mary breastfed him. There was no instant formula. We're talking about Mary breastfeeding her son. Jesus loved him so much. So I just wanted to make that point real quick. And going back, I don't know if you ever heard of this. Oh, I just wanted to say this also. Being that all that was said in the chat room, I feel that these two people are not coming on, and I'll name them. And I hope that they will come back in the chat because I feel so alone, and I don't have even people in the church where I work. I say things and I feel even away, distant from them. So when I seen Grassmere, I don't see her anymore. I know that she likes me, and I do appreciate. I think there's another girl that's in there now. I don't know exactly who, and then there was a girl that came on last, and her name was Christy Becerra. And she actually put a little thing like, Dave, come to Wisconsin. You could stay with me. I mean, that was such a beautiful invitation. And I'm not talking about lust or I'm old, but it was just the thoughtfulness and the caring compassion of what she said to me. And then she said, may the precious blood of Jesus Christ be on you, and may the Mother Mary or something hold you in her arms or something. And I just felt, whoa. And, now I don't see her, and I just wanted to maybe get in contact with her. Not that I need anybody or I want a sexual partner or anything like that. I don't want to lose my possession in heaven, but I would I just feel bad. Would it be advisable if I ever gave my email address on the air, being that the government knows me and everything, and my life? I have a sheriff living 2 doors away from me and everything else in my life goes on, so they must definitely know about me and my email.
So, just do me a favor, Dave. Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you send me an email with your email address, which I'd have by you sending me an email, And those listening who would want to get in touch with Dave, I will forward, your email along, or I'll forward your email along, or give you Dave's email address, whichever is most comfortable for
okay, I appreciate that. Either Grasmere or Christy Becerra.
Yeah, and folks, and this is Dave. I wanted to say this. This is part of the extended family, the chat room, and I know you're hard, and I know that you're not doing this for any type of gee whiz, let's hook up. This is not Christian mingle. Definitely. Okay. But I have to say this: during these times, look, it's tough to be alone, and you need a support system, and that's what we try to offer to the best of our ability. That's why it angers me so much when people come in with an agenda to disrupt that support system. That's why I get so angry about that. So, knowing what's in your heart. So let's do that, Dave. You send me an email.
Can I also say something real quick? Can I read something real quick? Real quick. This is for all the people out there. I won't say this. I'll bring this other thing up another time. But I think that person you're talking about, I think that was Mel. Okay. 'Twas the night before Jesus came. 'Twas the night before Jesus came, and all through the house, not a creature was praying, not one in the house. This is for you, all you bad NSA, Homeland Security, anybody bad. Their Bibles were laying on the shelf without care, in hopes that Jesus would not come there. The children were dressing to crawl into bed, not once ever kneeling or bowing a head. And Mom in a rocker with baby on her lap was watching the Late Show while I took a nap. When out of the east there arose such a clatter, I sprung to my feet to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. When what to my wondering eye should appear but angels proclaiming that Jesus was here, with a light like the sun sending forth a bright ray, I knew in a moment this must be the day. The light of his face made me cover my head. It was Jesus returning just like he had said. And though I possessed worldly wisdom and wealth, I cried when I saw him in spite of myself. In the book of life, which he held in his hand, was written the name of every saved man. He spoke not a word as he searched for my name. When he said, "It's not here," my head hung in shame. The people whose names had been written with love, he gathered to take to his Father above. With those who were ready, he rose without a sound, while all the rest were left standing around. I fell to my knees, but it was too late. I had waited too long, and thus sealed my fate. I stood and I cried as they rose out of sight. Oh, if only I had been ready tonight. In the words of this poem, the meaning is clear. The coming of Jesus is drawing near. There's only one life, and when comes the last call, we'll find that the Bible was true after all.
Wow. I didn't know you were so talented. I mean, I did, but I gotta tell you. Very good.
This ain't mine. This ain't mine. I went through some old stuff because I'm trying to get rid of a load, and I haven't seen this stuff since the year 2000, and I pulled this up with some other stuff, and I said, whoa.
Wow. You know how true that is as well, and to mention the NSA back then. And okay, you know what? It's the more things change, the more they stay the same, but the worse that they get. So, very good, Dave. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thank you all. I thank you too, and I'm
take care of yourself.
Please keep me in my prayers. Like I said, I'm being persecuted here where I live, and it's an ongoing fight. I kind of feel I should get out of here. I mean, I don't think the Lord wants me to stay near evil. I mean, I would like Joe's, if he could give a little wisdom. I know he's filled with wisdom. I'd like to hear what he had to say. I mean, if I'm fighting almost like wickedness in my dwelling here, it's not good really to stay fighting, just to be here, right?
Well, I would say that depends on what you feel is. I mean, the evil, is it that strong? I know you've talked before about things in your apartment that bother you. But
no, it's just total harassment. It's total harassment, Joe. It's total harassment. She's an old woman downstairs, and
You know what, Dave? Look, I know you asked Joe.
I'll email you something. Maybe you can correspond to me. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Yeah. God bless you, my friend.
Bless
Have a
everybody.
great night. Thanks for your call.
You too. You're welcome.
All right. That was Dave in Long Island.
Yeah.
Friend of the show and long-time listener. We're going to go to Sheila next. Sheila, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi, guys. The thing I got to say
Sheila,
about
what's on your mind tonight?
Well, the thing I got to say about our government, blah, blah, blah. They've been tap dancing for 4 years, and evidently it's going to keep going on. I don't see where we have a government anymore. Not from where I'm sitting.
No.
Obama's the voice, and that's it.
He's leading by executive power.
Huh? What did you say, Doug?
Apparently, Sheila, we've got about a 2 or 3 second delay, so I apologize for that. But Obama is leading by executive power, so you are correct in the fact that we don't have a government of checks and balances anymore.
No, it's clear that the Republican Party no longer has a voice. No doubt about it. We saw it for the 4 years, and we're getting ready to see it another 4, if it even lasts that long. Jim DeMint just came out and announced that he was resigning. So what's that tell you? You know who Jim DeMint is.
Well, what does that tell you? What does that tell you?
What's that telling me?
You?
He came on Fox and said that pretty much he didn't like the way things are going. He knows it ain't going to go anywhere, and he's out.
Well, I wonder too, Sheila, is that. Well, is he abandoning the fight, or is he just knowing that there's no hope? I mean, there's two different things. Two different.
The way I took it, there's no hope. He knows they're kicking a dead horse. This man is not going to cooperate. He's got an agenda, and he doesn't care. He's going to fulfill it one way or another.
But in his power, Jim DeMint has the power to change things, or be one of 400 or 535 people to make the changes necessary. Yet he's abandoning his position and not standing up for the moral and integrity. See, I've got a problem with that, because if I were in government, if I was an elected official, either as senator or a congressman, I would be exerting my authority by the people who elected me and standing up to this oligarchy that's being created by this one person. And if everyone did that, if all of the people did that in Congress, then we wouldn't have the problems that we've got right now.
Exactly. Don't you remember here a couple of years ago, it was 2 different congressmen that came out, and I can't remember who they were, saying that if they didn't vote the way Obama wanted them to, that they were going to declare martial law and cause the economy to get them to do their bidding. I mean, what's that tell you? I mean, they came right out and said it.
With George Bush, and Hank Paulson with the TARP bailouts.
Right, and so in this time around, Sheila, it's going to be a lot worse. You thought 2008 was bad with the economic crisis. What's hanging in the balance, Sheila and listeners, is the derivatives crisis. And what derivatives are basically casino bets on future earnings or the future of intangible things. The derivatives is such a huge market, and it's led by 4 banks, including Citibank and J.P. Morgan. So this time around, there will be no saving the economic system when the derivatives bubble bursts, like it did in 2008. It's going to make 2008 look like a picnic.
Somebody made a comment the other day that the S&P didn't even have anything on the books for January. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know a lot about the stock market, but I know that ain't a good thing. That's I don't know exactly what that means. As you said that, I've not seen that, so I don't know. But I do know that we're in bad shape at this point. Yeah.
Is there anything else, Sheila? Let you go.
Yeah, honey. Syria. Yesterday, I read on Alex's website that Syria is claiming that the United States is setting Assad up to use chemical weapons and blame it on him. Did you see that?
Yeah. Sheila.
That
sweetheart.
surprised me.
Sheila,
did you get to listen to yesterday's show?
I wrote. Look, we have on HomelandSecurityUS.com an interview over 100 hours. I did an interview over 100 hours with an intelligence insider. Sheila, I was on Alex Jones. I told Alex Jones that the United States CIA is setting up Assad to make it look like he's gassing his own people. So if you've got the time, read HomelandSecurityUS.com, read the articles, and it will give you the whole story.
And you just put the third one up, right?
I just put the third one up, and that's right. They're setting them up.
Yesterday's show title was The Real Truth Behind Syria, and
right.
we talked about how Al-Qaeda and the Nasser Front, a group of Al-Qaeda, has taken control of an army base where it is rumored that there's chemical weapons. Chemical weapons there.
And you know what? There's no walking this back, Sheila. There's no walking it back, and it's going to happen. And welcome to a regional war. So
I'm scared our military is going to get dragged into that. You know.
Oh yeah, and they will, and they're going to be facing our troops.
And it might not be our military; it might be the whole world. This might trigger World War III. We're dealing with proxy wars through Russia and Iran. In China, and this could be, the beginning of something we don't want to see.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a picture yesterday of those missiles that Russia sent into Syria, those big ones. You know what ones I mean? That's not a good thing.
Yes. No, not at all. And there are many. Well, not many. There are a couple of videos out there right now that. Actually show the anti-Assad rebels, shall we call them, using chemical nerve agents on rabbits. It's a sickening video. But folks, be prepared because it's coming, and it's and the blowback. It will come to America because there's a 2-lane highway going from North Africa to South America, to Central America, into Mexico, and into the United States. So if I would not be surprised if something would happen in the heartland to send a message to America that we are not safe.
Why the heartland? I've heard that mentioned many times. Why the heartland?
Well, because it would be easier to something at the border, at the southern border, would be easily explainable. In other words, San Jose or San Diego, which is close to the Mexican border, hey, that's as far as they got it. But when you strike at the heartland, you say, you're telling the American public we can go anywhere in your country. You're not safe anywhere. That's the message that they're going to try to convey.
Wow. Okay, what about the North American Union?
What? I'm sorry?
I said, what do you know about the North American Union? Because ain't nobody talking about that.
It's going to be a stepping stone. Joe and I were talking about that earlier. That's going to be a stepping stone toward the global governance, and it's going to come to a matter where, because of the devaluation of the dollar, the Mexico and Canada, it's kind of almost a done deal where the security partnership is there. It's been formed, and it's going to be a stepping stone to the global governance. But it's going to be a trade zone of sorts and a security zone of sorts. It's very possible that this could happen. So, I mean, it's part of the plan. Whether they take that particular part off the shelf and use it, it's anyone's guess.
Well, all we can do is pray at this point. This is in God's hands.
Yeah, indeed. There's a lot of stuff going on. But God bless you, Sheila. Thank you so much for your call. We love you, and we appreciate your time and for hanging in with us. God bless you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
All right, moving right along here, we're going to go to area code 530. Thanks for holding. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Doug. This is Maggie. And the reason I called initially was my husband retired from law enforcement, 2.5 years with the city police department, and 27.5 with the highway patrol. And, he never arrested a gun, and he never arrested a car. He only arrested the people. And being out of law enforcement, it's really hard to hear the lies day in and day out, and people refusing to accept their own personal responsibility.
Yeah, Maggie, we're gonna make that statement like the statement of the show.
Okay. She made me smile when she was telling that story.
You know something? I love it. How much more succinct can that be?
Well, exactly.
He never arrested a gun.
No, he didn't. And in the 60s, he was in Northern California, so he dealt with some of the people that are in high places now and their friends. And he arrested one of the assassins for what was called at the time the Black Muslims. And his street name was Chili Red. Well, they didn't know who they were chasing down in their car, and they didn't realize how well armed. But when they got him hooked up and booked, and the next day when they came back to work, everybody was just thrilled at who they had arrested. Well, not only had this man killed one person, he had killed many people. And I believe the last one was a family with a little girl. So, we're coming from a place where guns need to be respected. They are tools, but they are no different a tool than a car, a hatchet, a machete, a hammer. If you want to harm someone, you can do it with anything at hand. And this only goes to them trying to take away our Second Amendment by fear. And people have to realize if someone is attempting to frighten you, their message is bad.
Yeah, and think about it, this logic. They want to take guns away, ban guns, because it's such a huge epidemic of people shooting each other. Meanwhile, they are working, spending as much money and time as they can, poisoning everything that we intake, whether it be air, water, food. But no, don't ban that stuff. Ban the guns.
Well, that has to do with but they don't want us to be able to fight back.
Yeah, Maggie, is your husband? How can I say this? Is your husband in favor of responsible gun ownership? I mean, he's not.
Of course.
He sounds like. Okay, all right. I mean, that's what I was getting from your initial. So, what does he think? Well, what do you think? I mean, how? I guess my question from a law enforcement perspective, and you living with him, knowing best, because I believe wives know more about their husbands than their husbands do, frankly, because of my wife. But if they, I mean, does he believe that there's any possible way that they would come for our guns and even be successful at it?
That's a tough question, because with the history of some of the people that are currently in power, anything is possible.
Right.
If you've listened to Larry Grathwohl,
yes.
I don't believe people change without being able to point to what caused a change, and I don't see any evidence of it myself. I'm not saying it couldn't have happened. But this is a different time. We're dealing with drones. We're dealing with so much technology. I don't know. I pray to God it doesn't come to that. But
I do as well.
I don't know what anyone is capable anymore. We've taken God out of everything, and because we have no common morals, no common bond as a country, we don't know we can't steal. We don't know we can't kill anymore. And you look at young children now killing other people, and it's horrifying. I've got 10 grandchildren, and it's, what have we allowed this world to become? It's horrible.
What a statement, yeah.
It's tragic.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will tell you,
exactly.
my dad was a paratrooper, World War II, 82nd Airborne, and he told me in the 60s, and you're not quite as old as I am, but you may remember a bumper sticker. When guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. That was the only bumper sticker my father ever put on any car he ever owned. And if you look at the history of Germany, huh? I'm sorry, what?
How true is that, though? It's very true. It's yes.
Is it the bad guys are turning in the guns for free flu shots, folks?
Unfortunately,
no.
They're going to be standing by to rip off the collection center.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So,
if the
anyway,
cops don't
that
have a deal
was originally why Huh? I'm sorry.
I just said, unless the cops already don't have a deal brokered to sell them to them behind the scenes after the collection.
I'd be less concerned with the locals than the feds. They seem to have a track record of selling guns to bad people. But that's another story for another day. But the other thing that came up when you had the audio on, or we're talking about the atheist and get rid of the myth for Christmas. And what boggles my mind is they don't seem to understand Christians may give people headaches. Radical Islamists give them their head. And there's not going to be a void. Nature abhors a vacuum. It's not going to go to a no God. It's going to go to the God of Sharia, and that's a little G God. And it's not going to be pretty, and I don't understand how these people can't see this.
You bring up a good point. That last part of the sentence, you don't understand how people don't see this. Is it that they don't see this? Is it blind tolerance, or is it complicity with an agenda?
No, I really think that the politicians and the real famous gay people that are so ultra-left, I think because they don't believe with their heart and their soul in God, and I'm referring to Jesus Christ, our Father, His Father, our Father, the Holy Spirit, the triune God. They also do not believe anyone is willing to die for God. And I think that is going to just shoot them in the fanny, because there are people out there that will, die for God and their belief in God, and there are other people out there that will kill for their God. And I don't think they understand it because they don't believe it.
Well, very well said. I love how you phrased that. There are people that are willing to die for God, and there are other people willing to kill for their God.
Mhm.
I love that. Very, very well said. Wow. And think about that.
I just don't think
that.
but I think the left got into bed with the radical Islamists, and they don't understand who they got in bed with.
I agree with that. I do. We can see this, and people wonder why. For example, the Nazis and the Muslims back in World War II, cozied up together. It's the same principle then as it is now. There's this merging of ideology, but not realizing, of course, that they're going to be used ultimately as cannon fodder. But that aside, there's a similar ideology at play here. So, but you said that very well. My goodness, wow.
And my very last thing is I wanted to reach out to Dave and tell him that we'd be praying for him. And the one thing I found over the course of my 60-some years is when you pray for your enemies, you open up a path for God to touch their heart. He won't change their minds, but he will touch people's hearts. And the Bible tells us when you pray for your enemies, it's like heaping hot coals upon their head. I'm not praying this old lady gets hot coals. I'm just praying that God soften her heart, because she sounds like she may have been very hurt and very angry, and there's usually a basis for that, and it may be very deep and very old, but God can reach down and touch her.
Wow. We're gonna, Maggie, you've made our night. I want to thank you so very much for your wonderful, coherent, just a tremendous call. God bless you. Wow. You're absolutely right, by the way. Praying for enemies opens up a channel to their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't.
And this is the time of year that we should expect miracles. I was raised a Catholic. I was a cradle Catholic, and Dave will know what that means. And 10 years of Catholic schools, and I did leave the Catholic Church, but I so appreciated the way he explained the intercessory, we ask each other for prayer, and it's not that he's praying to Mary to perform the miracle. He's accessing Mary, the mother of Jesus, as an intercessor. And I don't have to agree with all of the theology, but I have this really strong feeling that our Father is not going to put up with this dissension from his children in heaven. And if we can't figure out how to get along, all of our denominations, he's going to have a fit.
Oh, man. Oh, amen. I got to tell you, truer words have never been spoken. Sometimes when I look at the strife between the denominations over small issues, it reminds me of when Joe was younger, and when he was a stepbrother and a sister. It was like, holy cow, the littlest thing, and it gets to a point where I don't mean to embarrass or demean you, Joe. I'm just
you're fine.
But I'm just you get to a point where stop. We're a family. We're a family, and we have to realize that.
Well, we Christians seem to be the only one that eat our own when they're down.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Jesus tells us we are to know one another. The world is to know us by our love. And as long as we agree on as long as we agree on the basics, Jesus is our Lord and Savior. He was born of the Virgin Mary. He came to earth. He bore our sins on the cross. He rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven. Those, to me, are the basics. And as long as we agree with those, the rest is, it shouldn't be
trivial.
A divider.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. Oh, man.
So true.
Oh, hey, Maggie, why don't you take some calls for the rest of the evening? I'm just kidding. Seriously, you and it's so eloquently put and simply put. How we are so quick to eat our own and to really cause dissension among ourselves, when in fact it
says people will be confused by the simplicity of Christ.
They are.
Isn't that true?
Well,
yeah,
you
exactly.
figure we've got to come to him as small children, and having so many grandchildren. If I tell them, they may not smell me cooking dinner. Grandma, are you fixing dinner? Yes. They're quite willing to believe I'm fixing them dinner. They don't come back every 2 minutes and go, hello, are you going to feed me? And they just have faith that they'll get fed. And we've got to have that same faith in the God that sent his only son to earth to die for us. If we can't believe that he can help us here and now, how on earth can we believe in salvation? We can't see salvation. We can see him helping us. But my husband and I see God work in our lives every day.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And we see it too.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that. We see it as well.
The blessings that he gives, if we are not, on the right path, if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, we will miss those. But if you are doing what you're supposed to do, those blessings, there's nothing like them. And all we can do is just pray that we continue to grow spiritually with the Lord. And that's our number one most important thing to do on this earth. Anything else that comes before that is nowhere near as important.
It's
Absolutely.
not. I mean, he's got to be first and foremost. And all of us here were put here, just like Queen Esther, at this time for a reason. I don't know why. I keep going, okay, would you like to share it with me? So far he hasn't, but I'm trusting he will when I need to know. But we've been put here, we've been gifted with this time, and I know Bob and I, the difference in our lives, the heart of gratitude. Even if something is falling apart, we thank God because we know he's going to walk us through it. You can always have gratitude no matter how bad it is. And as long as you have gratitude, you've got love in your heart.
Amen. Oh, how beautiful is that? Well, I want to tell you, you give your husband a big hug and shake your husband's hand for me as well. My goodness, I just want to say what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful call. And it's so eloquent and so very, very well said. God bless you. Thank you so very much for your call.
Well, God bless you, too. I didn't mean to talk so long.
No, I'm glad you did.
No, you had a lot of excellent things to say.
Merry Christmas to you both and your families.
Merry Christmas to you as well. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Take care, Maggie.
Bye-bye.
Wow, how great is that?
What an excellent last call.
And see, Joe, that's it. And what she said about Queen Esther, are we not here we were born for this moment, to be here at this moment, at this time, at this place, and we all have. Each one of you listening to this program, we have a job. We were put here for a reason, for this very moment, and we have to live our life. We have to seek and search for that reason. Yeah, we don't know. Joe and I don't know. We're doing what we're doing because we were led to do this, not because we chose to. I don't know. We didn't choose to do what we're doing. We were led here. It's evident by the fact that we're not polished professionals doing this. But if we can serve a purpose, and if we can help others and convey information of importance, perhaps bring people to God, and also, I don't know, Joe, what would you call it? Stand up, fight the battle when necessary?
Yeah, fight for the Lord and Him only. I mean, we need to spiritually grow as each and every day. It's a battle between temptation and doing what's right.
Oh, and that battle is sometimes so strong, isn't it?
That's why the Lord needs to be first before anything else. Because if He's not first, those temptations, we will give in to them. And that's not a place we want to go, starting over. But, folks, we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. It was an excellent program. Tomorrow night we will be joined by Pastor Lindsey Williams. Following that, the next day, Steve Quayle and Russ Disbar.
Yeah, and now the Steve's program from 9 to midnight in tomorrow, regular time, first hour, Lindsey Williams. Just want to say God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of our lives and for a part of our programs. Thank you so very much.